Chapter 133. Let go of my goddess. Xuanhuan angrily attacked, and a powerful spiritual energy struck towards Death Mage. A black fog shot out from Death Mage's bone finger and instantly dispersed the spiritual energy that was rushing towards Xuanhuan. Dry Zen sect was an alchemy sect, and their overall strength was not very high. However, Xuanhuan, who was the sect master, was naturally considered to be rather powerful. But in this group of people he was at the bottom. Xuanhuan could do nothing about the black fog's attack. He flew backward and crashed into a building like a cannonball. Lord Jiu's heart ached when he saw this. Everyone was speechless. No matter how weak Xuanhuan was, he was still a sect leader, yet this black robe had actually sent him flying with one move. His strength was actually terrifying to such an extent. Hai Dicey was just about to make a move, but when he saw Xuanhuan get killed, he stopped. Although the goddess was still needed, if he didn't have a life, how could he be intimate with the goddess? Death Mage inserted the rose that was in his mouth into Sun Fang's hair. This action caused everyone to tremble with fear, and no one dared to recklessly attack Sun Fang. Sun Fang glared at the skeleton in front of her. She did not beg for mercy, nor was she afraid. Kill me if you can. You want me to be your slave? Dream on. Looking at the beauty in his arms, the undead skeleton smiled. GGG, Imperial Translation, you want to die? How could it be that easy? Death Mage could be seen lowering his head slowly. Sun Fang's expression finally changed. Everyone was stunned. What happened next caused goosebumps to rise all over people's bodies. They actually kissed. After quite a while, Death Mage raised his head. Human women's lips are so soft, my first kiss is actually gone. Looking at the woman who had already fainted, Death Mage carried her into his embrace, then picked up his scythe and disappeared from everyone's sight. There was only one thought in all the men's minds. Was over. The southern beauty Sun Fang had been defiled by a skeleton. When Death Mage appeared once again, he was already in the middle of a large mountain. Placing the woman in his embrace onto the grassland, Death Mage lit up a cigar, took out his phone, and recharged all of the money that he had left. The familiar voice sounded again. Bayubiabubiu, Master. A black figure appeared beside Death Mage and shouted out respectfully. This person was the death assassin who was guarding Long Out Yin. What happened to that Long Out Yin? Death Mage asked while playing with his phone. In actuality, Death Mage could very well ask Jiu Yi for money, but Death Mage felt that if he were to ask the same human for money, if news of this were to spread out, where would his face be? If Master and his honor were to find out about this, wouldn't I not even be able to raise my head? Replying to Master, Long Out Yin has been staying in a small thatched cottage during this period of time, and he has not appeared. Death Assassin seemed to be a lot more normal. I finally met a normal person. Find an opportunity to ask for some money? We don't have enough funds. Master, he's here. Oh? Hurry up, it's time to top up again. Yes, Master. Death Assassin's figure disappeared in an instant, truly coming and going without a trace. Meanwhile, Death Mage continued to keep on going. Bayubiubiu. Beside him, there was even Sun Fang who had fainted. However, in everyone's heart, the southern pampered girl Sun Fang was definitely being humiliated by the skeleton. However, this news would instantly spread throughout the entire south, even to the north. Now, even if Sun Fang returned safe and sound, everyone's saliva would drown her. Within the small thatched cottage, Long Out Yin, who was wearing a tattered long gown, was currently hugging onto a petite and cute girl while saying words of love. Meng Meng, I wonder if you will be able to come back alive after going out today. Long Out Yin let out a long sigh and said with an extremely gentle tone. Meng Meng rubbed onto her beloved man's chest and said, Brother Long, if you meet with misfortune, Meng Meng will accompany you. Long Out Yin took a deep breath. This is the plot of the main character being loved by the female lead to death. Wait till I defeat that black-clothed man, the entire world will belong to me, Long Out Yin. I, Long Out Yin, will be able to pick any beauty in the world. However, Meng Meng, don't worry, when Brother Long finishes working hard outside, I will definitely come and pick you up. Long Out Yin consoled Meng Meng attentively. Meng Meng smiled tenderly. It's all right, Brother Long, you just have to work hard at ease. Meng Meng will wait for you here. Meng Meng, you are the best. Brother Long, keep this bottle of medicine, take one pill a day, if not, the love goo will break out. Meng Meng, I, Long Out Yin, thank the heavens for having you in this life. Tears of pain flowed out from Long Out Yin's eyes. Isn't it just having sex? To actually be so ruthless, why am I, Long Out Yin's life, so bitter? Brother Long, Meng Meng will be yours for my entire life. Meng Meng, Long Out Yin cried. After a long time, Long Outyin said gravely, "Meng Meng, I'm leaving. Brother Long, you must definitely come back victorious." Bringing along his exhausted body, Long Outyin walked out of the small thatched cottage. The feeling of leaving feels so good. After walking far away, Long Outyin shouted loudly, "Come out! My dragon god technique has already been trained to the 2nd level, watch how I take revenge today. It's all because of you, you bastard. I had to use the Earth Escape Talisman to escape to this desolate place, and even got poisoned by the love goo. You destroyed my dream of having a harem. The hatred between me and you is absolutely irreconcilable." Right after Long Outyin finished shouting, Death Assassin suddenly appeared, giving Long Outyin a fright. The imposing manner that he had just now immediately disappeared, and Long Outyin immediately hid behind a tree. F***K. I have already trained my Dragon God technique to the 2nd level, what am I afraid of? Walking out from behind the tree, Long Outyin pointed at Death Assassin and shouted, "You, don't be arrogant. Let's exchange one move today. Let's agree on it. We will only exchange one move, whoever uses the 2nd move will lose." GGG. Imperial translation, no problem. Long Outyin retracted his frivolous smile, squatted down slightly, and stared at Death Assassin with his pair of tiger-like eyes. His entire body immediately emitted out a powerful aura, and his pair of eyes gradually turned golden. "Come over." Long Outyin roared towards the sky. Death Assassin held onto the dagger and performed a horizontal stab. That night was a huge blow to Long Outyin. He was completely unable to catch the opponent's speed, but now that his Dragon God technique had been trained to the 2nd level, he was clearly able to feel the opponent's movement. Long Outyin slightly tilted his head, and a strand of his hair slowly fell onto the ground. Long Outyin clearly felt it. "I didn't expect that I would be able to dodge the opponent's ultimate move." The smile on the corner of Long Outyin's mouth became bigger and bigger, and soon after, he opened up his arms and laughed wildly. "Ha! Long Outyin, have finally dodged it. The humiliation from that day has finally been washed away, ha ha ha." Death Assassin looked at Long Outyin, who had already sunk into madness, and he really couldn't understand why Long Outyin would be so happy after dodging his most ordinary attack. Of course, Long Outyin was excited. In his heart, he had already treated Death Assassin as the strongest boss existence. From the start, he didn't even have the strength to fight back, to now that he was able to dodge the attack, how could he not be happy? How could he not be excited? "Wait for me, Long Outyin, to train for a month. I will fight you again. Goodbye." Chapter 134. However, would the Death Assassin let him escape just like that? It was obviously impossible. He moved to block Long Outyin's path. What do you want to do? I said that I will only exchange one move with you. Are you thinking of admitting defeat? Long Outyin immediately panicked. "If you have the guts, then let me hide for a few more years. When the time comes, I will be able to go all out." Death Assassin stretched out his thumb and index finger and poked it. Long Outyin was so frightened that he took a few steps back when he saw the white jade-like bones. He felt that the person who was chasing after him was not a human. He even asked for money. Calming himself down, Long Outyin took out his wallet and said, "Actually, I don't have much. The plot is just developing and it's not the final stage yet. I only have a few thousand yuan in my card and some change." Death Assassin took over the wallet and disappeared in an instant, leaving behind the stupefied Long Outyin. "I haven't told you the password yet?" Long Outyin mumbled. After saying that, he paused for a moment and immediately ran off. "Brother Long, why did you come back?" Seeing Long Outyin running back with a joyful look on his face, Meng Meng's face was filled with joy. Long Outyin pressed on Meng Meng's shoulders and said affectionately, "Meng Meng, I still can't let you go. I've decided not to leave." Meng Meng was stupefied. She was moved to tears. "Brother Long, you are really too good to Meng Meng. I still can't beat the other party." Brother Long is feeling bitter in his heart. Wiping away her tears, Meng Meng said softly, "Brother Long, I'll cook some noodles for you. Okay, add more sauce." "Brother Long, I hate you." On the other side, Death Assassin had already completed his mission and handed over the wallet with both hands. On the other hand, Death Mage only took out a few $100s, then threw his wallet to the side. "I'm going to deposit some money. You continue to look after Long Outyin." "Yes." Seeing that its master did not plan to take that woman away, Death Assassin continued to ask, "Master, this woman?" Death Mage took a look at Sun Fang, who had fainted. According to the bet, Sun Fang could be considered as his female slave. However, if he were to let a female slave follow him, the expenses that he would have to spend would become huge. Sun Fang still had to eat, buy clothes, makeup, and sanitary napkins. Forget it, I don't want it anymore. Just leave it here. After saying that, Death Mage went to the ATM machine to deposit the money. Death Assassin took a look at Sun Fang, who was on the ground, then disappeared as well. The Southern Beauty, she could be said to be the goddess of the cultivation world, but right now she was being disregarded by two skeletons. The reason was very good: they were difficult to raise. Death Mage even took back the title of female slave. After an unknown period of time, Sun Fang faintly woke up. Sun Fang's beautiful eyes surveyed her surroundings, and after checking her own body, she heaved a sigh of relief when she discovered that she hadn't been violated. But when she thought of that bony face, Sun Fang clenched her fists tightly. She swore that she would never rest until she died. At this moment, Jiu Yi also left the winery and arrived at Long and City's Rank 1 shopping mall. He quietly walked into an arcade. Lord Jiu, the master has been waiting for a long time. The man who spoke was the manager of the arcade, and his words carried a deep warning. Lord Jiu smiled and said, "Sorry, there was a traffic jam on the way." The man's eyes revealed an ominous glint. He turned around and brought Lord Jiu into the gaming hall. A man in a black cloak was sitting in front of a game console, seriously playing the game. I'm stupid. The two of them didn't even dare to make a sound as they stood behind him. Hovacha, edgy, however it was useless. He had lost. Little Jiu, come and play. The man smiled, but he didn't turn around. Lord Jiu took a deep breath. I don't dare. Sit. The man patted the stool. Jiu Yi knew that he couldn't shirk away anymore. Rejecting once is respect, but rejecting twice is idiotic. Sitting beside the man, Lord Jiu was trembling with fear. This kind of situation was like standing in front of the boss of the bar. The man stuffed a copper coin into the man's mouth and began to select the person. How's the situation at night? The man asked as he selected. Master, there's been an accident. The man patted Lord Jiu's shoulder. Don't be nervous. I won't kill anyone. Lord Jiu thought to himself, you are probably farting. Those people didn't die? The man asked curiously. How could Lord Jiu be in the mood to control the people inside? He said in a low voice, I couldn't invite the owner of the bar, so he went to fight Xiao Yi's black robe. How boring. I'm still counting on the boss of Qing Bar to be my gun. The man sighed. After a pause, the man continued to ask, how strong is black robe? Powerful. Compared to the owner of the bar. Only stronger, not weaker. Lord Jiu thought to himself. What the fuck do I know? The man stood up and took out a stick of cigarette. The manager immediately got angry. Little Jiu, you are too incompetent. This subordinate deserves to die. Master, please have mercy. Lord Jiu immediately kneeled on the ground and begged for forgiveness. What happened at night? Tell me about it. Lord Jiu told the manager what happened. After listening to what happened, the man sneered. His calm face immediately revealed a sinister expression. Spread the news. Ruin this woman's reputation for me. If not for this stinky woman, how would other powers be able to interfere in this matter? Lord Jiu immediately agreed. How's the progress of the investigation at Qing Bar? The man asked again. Lord Jiu didn't dare to be careless and said seriously, from the looks of it, if Black Robe is a person from Qing Bar, then his strength is the strongest. The second is that security guard. Yesterday, a youngster suddenly appeared, and his strength is also not to be underestimated. As for that boss, he seems to know summoning techniques. Last time he even scared Cloud Sect's Xuanhuan. What's so difficult about scaring a small deacon from Cloud Sect? Is there anything else? The man asked. I have never seen him make a move, so it's hard to judge his strength. The man became silent and pondered in his heart. The boss of Qing Bar seems to be the boss, but his strength is the weakest. Could it be that he is a puppet that Black Robe set up to deceive others, and Black Robe is actually the boss of Qing Bar? This possibility is very high. If I obtained an ancient godly item, then I would definitely be able to easily kill Black Robe. However, the current situation has become complicated. Originally, he wanted to use tonight to test the strength of Qing Bar's boss. If Gao Xin killed all those people, then he could sit back and enjoy the benefits. Unexpectedly, he didn't go. Wrong. It's not that he didn't want to go, but Black Robe didn't allow him to go. After all, Black Robe is the boss in secret. How could Black Robe not go to such a big scene? If that's the case, then the boss is definitely Black Robe. Xiaojiu, keep a close eye on that Black Robe. The man shouted in a deep voice. Yes, master. This medicine is for you. Thank you, master. Lord Jiu was overjoyed and hurriedly kowtowed to thank him. Go and do your work. Yes. After Lord Jiu left, the man clenched his fist tightly and muttered, This game of chess has been played for 5 years, I cannot fail at the crucial moment. I will kill whoever dares to stop me. Master, you have great fortune. The manager immediately knelt down and kowtowed. Chapter 135. Pay up. The hall downstairs began to be cleaned and closed. Wei Chang no longer wore a security uniform every day after work. He had learned to dress up. Uncle Wei, with a cheerful smile on her face, Tang Wei ran over and held onto Wei Chang's arm. Uncle Wei, hurry up and go on your date. Leave this to us. Yeah. Uncle Wei, you have to protect our store flower. The surrounding shop assistants jokingly shouted. Wei Chang patted Tang Wei's head and gently said, Let's go. And Tang Wei even laid her head on her sweetheart's shoulder. It was getting more and more difficult for her to leave him, and all she wanted to do was to be together with Uncle Wei. Wei Chang was very lovable, but the boss upstairs was very annoyed. Yihua sat on the sofa in the office. The entire office seemed as if it was going to catch on fire. The entire office was filled with smoke and the ashtray was filled with cigarette butts. Looking at the time, it was already 12 o'clock. However, this woman was still stubborn. I don't believe that you won't come and shout. Without my chest, can you fall asleep? The clock on the wall kept ticking and Yihua's cigarette never stopped. Finally, it was 1 o'clock. You're not coming? You want to sleep in separate rooms? Not bad, Xianxia. He was getting bolder and bolder. Go get the quilt first. Yihua stood up and opened the door of the office. The smoke in the office seemed to have found a hole to escape from, and it drilled out of the office without any regard for its life. Arriving at the door of the bedroom, Yihua prepared to open the door and enter the bedroom. Unexpectedly, the door was locked from the inside. This is truly going against the heavens. To actually lock me outside the door, what kind of wife is this? Yihua wanted to kick the door open, but he didn't. Yihua looked at the situation inside the house, and saw that Xianxia was hugging onto a big doll, and with a smile on her beautiful face, Xianxia was fast asleep. She actually fell asleep smiling. As for me, I actually have insomnia. If I don't sleep, don't even think about sleeping. Yihua knocked on the door, then returned to the office. Xianxia, who was in a dream, wrinkled her eyebrows. Getting up from the bed, she opened the door, but who knew that there was no one outside the door? To think that you are a cultivator, these are all the actions of a child, humph. Xianxia closed the door and continued to sleep. If you have the ability, then go ahead and sleep in the office. Yihua, who was in the office, snorted. There will be a day when you will beg me to go to bed with you. At that time, just watch how I will deal with you. What an arrogant woman. Yihua decided not to sleep tonight. I'm going to do something big tomorrow morning. Yihua turned on the television and continued watching Calabash Brothers saving Grandpa. The happy scene wasn't good at all, and Big Wolf was too cowardly. If it was Big Wolf himself, he would have slapped Big Wolf twice to show his true colors as a man. Since he had decided to pull an all-nighter, Yihua prepared spicy gluten, spicy bean skin, ice Sprite, cigarettes, wine, instant noodles, and so on. Awesome. Time passed by slowly and the sky began to turn bright. Hearing the sound of the door opening, Yihua's spirit immediately returned to him and he switched the television off. My sister-in-law is a lazy bug. Sometimes she wouldn't wake up before noon. The one who woke up so early must be Xianxia. Hearing the sound of Xianxia coming down the stairs, Yihua stood beside the window and looked at the alley. As expected, Xianxia went to buy breakfast in the morning. Yihua's gaze flickered with a cold light. He went to his own bedroom and looked at his substitute. He was furious. He grabbed the big doll on the bed and tore it apart before tossing it above his head. Sunfall heavenly flame. Koanli hellfire. Sky ghost flame. Blazing sun burns the heavens. Buddha fire illumination. Looking from outside the window, the bedroom immediately became colorful. Yihua let out a heavy breath and muttered, "This is the result of replacing the original." After finished speaking, Yihua opened the door and left. The doll from just now had already been burnt to ashes by all kinds of flames. Doll, what fucking crime did I commit for you to do this to me? After returning back to the office, Yihua stood beside the window and observed Xianxia's movements. 10 minutes later, Xianxia could be seen to have returned with breakfast. Yihua extinguished the cigarette butt and waited for Xianxia to go upstairs. Hearing those familiar footsteps, Yihua's brows wrinkled deeply. Unexpectedly, the footsteps stopped at the door. Unable to care about anything else, Yihua's body instantly disappeared and appeared on the sofa. The blanket that he was wearing fell onto the floor, and at this moment the door was opened. Upon opening the door, Xianxia wrinkled her brows. The inside of the door was filled with the smell of cigarettes and instant noodles. Looking at the man who was lying on the sofa, Xianxia let out a sigh. Quietly walking over, she picked up the blanket that was on the floor and covered Yihua's body with it. Then, she placed the breakfast on the coffee table and casually opened the window of the room to let in some air. After doing all that, she left the office. The moment when the door was closed, Yihua opened his eyes. Looking at the blanket that was on his body and the jianbing that was on the coffee table, Yihua snorted, "At least you are sensible." Picking up the piping hot jianbing, Yihua looked at the amount of fillings. It should be an egg and a ham sausage. Biting down on it, it is rather fragrant. It is even better than the one that I bought myself. After returning back to the bedroom, Xianxia went into a daze because the doll that was on the bed disappeared. It has only been 10 minutes, how could the doll disappear on its own? Unless there is only one possibility, that miser that was pretending to be asleep. Do you think that by destroying my doll, I will have to beg you to come and sleep? Stop dreaming. For me, Xianxia, to be able to get to where I am now, how could I not have a backup plan? Opening the wardrobe, Yihua saw that the 3 dolls were covered by clothes. Yihua, seems like you are going to have to sleep in the office for a few more days. After finished speaking, Xianxia laughed tenderly and even threw herself onto the bed while laughing loudly. Yihua is too cute to actually be so stingy. If I were to suddenly appear when he was destroying the corpses, I wonder what kind of expression he would have. Only until noon did Yihua go out and casually walked into the bedroom. Looking at Xianxia, who was currently reading a book on the bed, he asked, "What are we eating for lunch?" "Anything." Xianxia replied indifferently. Look at this attitude of his, he is simply looking for a beating. However, his performance in the morning was not bad. I will forget about it this time. I prepared some meat like the one that I prepared last time. Yihua said indifferently. From start to finish, his head was looking towards the other side, seemingly like he did not care about it at all. Xianxia almost couldn't help but laugh out loud. Sometimes this fellow can anger me half to death, but sometimes he can amuse me to death. Look at that face of his that does not care about it at all. All right. Xianxia replied indifferently. Yihua was only giving face to the jianbing in the morning. If not, he wouldn't have given it to Xianxia. "Qingyutong, are you eating lunch?" Yihua knocked on his sister-in-law's door and shouted. Qingyutong's soft voice came from the inside. "Don't call me when you guys are eating, the one who gets hurt is always me. Today we are eating meat for lunch." Yihua added a sentence. Immediately, a hurried voice rang out from the inside, and the door was instantly opened. Qingyutong had an excited look on her face. "Brother-in-law, is that true?" Yihua responded. Qingyutong let out a cry and hugged onto Yihua like a koala bear. "Get up. Your butt is itching, right?" Qingyutong immediately let go of Yihua. "Brother-in-law, do you need my help? I can wash vegetables." Scram. Snort, snort, snort. At noon, Yihua prepared a high-class desolate banquet. On the surface, Xianxia was cold and indifferent, but in her heart, she was extremely happy. Chapter 136. In the blink of an eye, it was already night. Just like yesterday, Yihua waited for Xianxia to wake him up. "Without the doll, let me see how you are going to sleep." Unexpectedly, after waiting for a while, it was already 1 a.m. Yihua decided to go and take a look at what was going on. Standing outside of the door, Yihua's face darkened. Why did another doll pop out? Didn't I burn the doll? Furthermore, Xianxia didn't go out today and there wasn't any express delivery. MLGB. How dare you sleep with my woman? I will kill you tomorrow morning. Yihua decided to stay up all night and wait for Xianxia to go out and buy breakfast. However, he had already stayed up all night once yesterday, and his body was truly a bit unable to take it anymore. Spirit repair. He cast a spell on himself and was instantly full of energy. He could even kill a Xuan with one punch. The night gradually receded. Yihua was waiting for Xianxia to go out and buy breakfast. Yihua stood at the window and looked at Xianxia leaving, then immediately ran to the bedroom. Meanwhile, Xianxia, who was going to buy breakfast, secretly took a look at Xianxia, then immediately turned around and ran back to the bar. "Wait till I catch you, I want to see how you are going to explain yourself." Yihua came to the bedroom and looked at the doll on the bed. Sunfall Heavenly Flames X2. Kunli Hellfire X2. Sky Ghost Flame X2. Scorching Sun Burning Sky X2. Buddha Fire Illumination X2. Baby shouted in his heart, "Why am I A*2*? The one in front doesn't have one." Hearing the sound of hurried footsteps coming from the entrance of the staircase, Yihua's body faded away, and coincidentally the door was opened by Xianxia. When Xianxia saw that the doll on the bed disappeared again, Xianxia laughed out of anger. This is simply the jealousy king of the cultivation world. However, Yihua had also become smarter. He knew that Xianxia must have definitely bought a lot of things. At noon, Yihua sneakily ran into the bedroom again and sure enough, he discovered that damn doll in the wardrobe. To think that the damn doll is actually hiding in the wardrobe, waiting to sleep with my woman. Sunfall Heavenly Flames x10. Kuan Fire *10. Sky Ghost Flame x10. Scorching Sun Burning Sky x10. Buddha Fire Illumination *10. Wah. However, when night came, Xianxia still did not come. Yihua was already on the verge of going berserk, and he really wanted to burn all of the dolls in the world. However, when he arrived at the bedroom and took a look, Xianxia was not sleeping inside. Could it be? This woman was actually carrying her sister-in-law. I am going to burn my sister-in-law as well. Xianxia, do you really think that I, the Supreme Overlord, can't do anything to you? Coming to the office, Yihua called Wei Chang and Lai Gu over. Your Honor. Your Honor. Yihua sat on the sofa, lit up a cigarette and said faintly, let's go out together the day after tomorrow. Wei Chang and Lai Gu's eyes lit up and soon after they said at the same time, we will solemnly obey your Honor's command. You two go make the arrangements. Wei Chang knew that this mission would definitely fall on him and said softly, Master, where are we going? I can book a hotel. Who told you I'm going to stay in a hotel? Camping. That kind of tent. Yihua shouted out gravely. These two brains have returned to the past again, right? If he were to stay in a hotel with so many rooms, wouldn't he still be able to sleep wherever Xianxia wanted? Lai Gu was very depressed. He didn't say anything but he was also implicated. Subordinate understands, but... Wei Chang stammered. He was too embarrassed to say it out. But what? Wei Chang swallowed his saliva and said nervously, Your Honor, in the past subordinate was still alright when I was living alone, but recently I got a girlfriend and my expenses became bigger. Right now, even a mantu has to be eaten in 3 bites. Lai Gu had a look of disdain on his face. There is no one else who can be like you. Just like me, I have 3 female celebrities to support me and my life is so free and easy. That's why I say if you want to find a woman you must find a woman who is rich, then live the life of a gigolo, it is very comfortable. Look at how His Honor is looking for rich people. Right now, the price of crayfish is at least 10 caddies. In the past, when did His Honor dare to be so extravagant? Looking at Wei Chang's depressed look, Lai Gu sighed. If you want money, look for Lai Gu. Yihua said coldly. Lai Gu's expression immediately collapsed and immediately said, Your Honor, subordinate is also poor. Hearing Lai Gu's words, Yihua and Wei Chang couldn't help but think back to the past. Every time Lai Gu was asked to fork out money, it was as if Lai Gu was asking for his life. Gold had almost piled up into a mountain, and Lai Gu still said that he didn't have money. Noticing His Honor's threatening gaze, Lai Gu immediately changed his words. Your Honor, subordinate still has a bit of money. Wei Chang, in the future look for Lai Gu for all of the expenses. Right now the business of the bar is getting worse day by day, all of you should save some money. Yihua said faintly. Wei Chang probed, What about madam? Upon mentioning Xianxia, Yihua became unhappy and shouted out lightly, Can I even use that stupid woman's money? Why don't the two of you use your brains? This subordinate is slow-witted. This subordinate is also slow-witted. Yihua paused for a moment, then reminded, Are the two of you going to bring people with you the day after tomorrow? This subordinate will only bring little Tang along. I only have 3 celebrities with me, so I need someone to wait on me. Wei Chang looked at Lai Gu in disbelief. This bootlicking skill is truly not bad. Little Tang is a waitress, she can also be responsible. Wei Chang added. Yihua nodded his head. It's good that you have this intention. Wei Chang, you have to remember, don't buy too many tents, 3 tents is enough. Wei Chang was shocked. 3 tents. His Honor and Madam will definitely be 1, Lai Gu and his 3 celebrities will be 1, then I and Xiao Tang. His Honor is wise. To actually empathize with his subordinates so much, I am moved to tears. I will solemnly obey His Honor's command. Wei Chang said excitedly, even his tone was trembling. Yihua waved his hand, all of you can go back. Yes. Yes. After the 2 subordinates left, Yihua lied on the sofa and covered himself with a blanket. Why do I feel so miserable? Xianxia, just you wait. As for Qing Yutong, Yihua definitely won't bring her along. What if Xianxia sleeps with her little sister? Wouldn't this flawless plan of mine be ruined? Wanting Qing Yutong to cooperate with me is extremely easy, I just need to spank her butt and add meat in one go. Qing Yutong will happily agree to it. As long as I give her meat to eat, she will do anything. During dinner time, Qing Yutong rubbed her head and said, "Big sister, I won't be going tomorrow, my head hurts." "What's wrong?" Xianxia asked concernedly. "I might have caught a cold." "I told you to play less games but you didn't listen." After finished speaking, Xianxia went to look for medicine. "You are already so old, yet you are still making me worry." Qing Yutong blinked her beautiful eyes towards Yihua, and Yihua silently nodded his head. Her acting is not bad as expected of a movie empress. Qing Yutong endured the pain in her chest and ate the medicine. "Big sister, you two can play at ease, I will look after the house." Qing Yutong said weakly, feeling as if she was going to die. Yihua felt that this was a bit exaggerated. As expected, looking at her little sister's appearance, Xianxia said with concern, "I think I will stay at home and take care of you." Yihua's heart sunk. Qing Yutong also knew that her acting just now was over the line. Her tone became a bit calmer. "Big sister, I will be fine after sleeping for a while. Furthermore, I will be starting my livestream next week, I have to properly practice my skills." Xianxia knocked onto her little sister's forehead petulantly. "You are already so sick, yet you are still playing games. Let's see how you will be tomorrow morning." Although she was working together with her brother-in-law to lie to her big sister, the look of concern in her big sister's eyes really made Qing Yutong feel very touched. Qing Yutong could be seen hugging onto Xianxia and said tenderly, "Big sister, you are the best." Xianxia smiled, caressed onto her little sister's beautiful hair, then looked at Yihua who was silently eating. She discovered that ever since Yihua appeared, the relationship between her and her little sister had also become better, not like before. "Everyone rest early today," Yihua said faintly, then walked back to the office. Xianxia snorted coldly. Qing Yutong let out a breath. These two obviously wanted to die, but they just couldn't put down their face. Why bother? Yihua, who was lying on the sofa, was in a very good mood, as if he could already see Xianxia's expression of surrendering and then begging for forgiveness from him. Just thinking about that, Yihua laughed out. "Dong dong dong. Come in." Wei Chang could be seen walking in with a weird expression. "What's the matter?" Chapter 137. Yihua's brows immediately wrinkled. "The woman is waiting for me?" And her emotions are very unstable. Wei Chang was also confused. Could it be that his honor had gotten into a relationship with her outside? If the madam were to find out about this, it would be troublesome. Yihua snorted coldly. "It wasn't like this kind of woman had never appeared before. I will deal with her how I dealt with her in the past. Is there a need to tell me about this kind of thing? But this woman is different," Wei Chang said in a low voice. "How is it different?" Yihua asked gravely. Wei Chang said solemnly, "Your Honor, you should go and take a look." Yihua let out a breath and glared at Wei Chang. "You can't even handle such a small matter. Did you become stupid from dating?" Wei Chang didn't dare to make a sound. "This really isn't the problem of dating, this is the problem of Your Honor." Yihua walked down the stairs. There was no one else in the hall, all the employees had left, and there was only a beautiful figure sitting there. The beautiful black hair hung down to her waist. Just this back view alone was enough to give Yihua a high score. Furthermore, there was a sword on the right hand of the woman. Meanwhile, she was currently drinking wine and seemed to be rather vexed. If it was the Yihua in the past, he would definitely go and strike up a conversation with the woman and then have a wonderful night with her. Thinking up to here, Yihua couldn't help but recall a past event. That woman seemed to be in the same state back then. Yihua gestured to Wei Chang, and Wei Chang nodded his head and walked forward. "Miss, our boss is here." The woman who was drinking wine slowly turned her head around and took a look at Yihua. Soon after, she started drinking again and said, "He isn't your boss is a skeleton." Yihua was immediately startled. This woman actually saw through my true identity. Wei Chang walked over and said in a low voice, "Your Honor, isn't this strange?" Yihua nodded his head. "Seems like this woman doesn't come with good intentions. Let's get some information out of her first. How did she know that I am a skeleton?" "That's right, this woman is Sun Fang." Ever since she returned that night, Sun Fang heard all kinds of rumors, all kinds of versions. On the second day, it was as if the whole world knew that she was tainted by a skeleton. As the sect master of Cloud Sect, to be tainted by a skeleton. This is simply even more unbearable than being killed. Just yesterday the rumor storm became even more shameless and despicable. A few elders of Cloud Martial School could no longer sit still. They begged Sun Fang to abdicate, otherwise Cloud Martial School's 1,000 years of foundation would become a laughingstock for everyone. Sun Fang also knew the seriousness of the matter. she didn't blame the elders. Everyone was thinking for this sect. As for Sun Fong, she had left the Yun sect yesterday. She had left the home that she had lived in for a long time. In her heart, she had thought of committing suicide. However, Sun Fong was unwilling. Even if she had to die, she wanted to drag that skeleton down with her. His reputation and innocence had been completely destroyed by the skeleton. In this life, there was only one thing he wanted to do, and that was to kill that skeleton. Wei Chang pulled out the stool, and Yi Hua sat at the opposite of Sun Fong. He discovered that this woman was indeed beautiful, and her weak eyes seemed to have received a huge blow. "How did you know that I am a skeleton?" Yi Hua asked gravely, and his killing intent was revealed. Sun Fong was also a little dizzy from drinking too much. She misheard. She looked at the handsome guy in front of her and said, "Because I saw it. He's a skeleton. I want to kill him." Yi Hua and Wei Chang were both stupefied. What kind of plot is this? Wasn't he jumping way too fast? Why did you want to kill skeletons? Yi Hua asked curiously. Sun Fong's beautiful eyes turned cold, and a fierce aura burst out from her entire body, because it tainted my innocence. My only wish in this life is to kill it. The skeleton tainted the lady's innocence? Yi Hua couldn't help but curse out, F***K. Wei Chang was even more stupefied. He asked curiously, "Lady, may I ask, how did the skeleton taint your innocence?" Bang. A silver light flashed and a sharp sword was placed on Wei Chang's neck. "If you dare to say another word, I will take your life." Sun Fong shouted out drunkenly, and the sword that she was holding onto in her hand was completely unsteady. Yi Hua shook his head towards Wei Chang. Wei Chang naturally understood what his honor meant. As an undead, to actually have such a scum of the same race, Yi Hua decided to get rid of this woman. This woman looks rather pitiful. Recently, I have become a good person. Do you still remember the characteristics of that skeleton? For example, weapons and clothes? Yi Hua asked. Sun Fong's head was dizzy, and while swaying she said intermittently, It likes to play with my phone. It wears a black gown and it has a big scythe. It doesn't know how to speak and its mouth often makes GGG sounds." Hearing that, Yi Hua was confused. On the other hand, Wei Chang was stupefied. "Isn't this the fucking death mage? The evil spirit that I summoned actually tainted a human woman. How is this possible? It is just a skeleton. How did it do that?" "Your Honor, subordinate has a matter to report to you," Wei Chang said in a low voice. Yi Hua silently nodded his head and conveniently called Lai Gu over. "This damned skeleton is going to be stewed after I capture it." "Your Honor, the skeleton that this woman is talking about, it is one of us." Wei Chang finally spoke out, and immediately he felt that his entire body had become light. Yi Hua and Lai Gu were both stupefied. "It is an evil spirit that subordinate summoned out to handle some matters," Wei Chang continued. After a moment of astonishment, Yi Hua said faintly, "Since it is one of us, then forget about it. However, we have to make things clear. If both parties are willing to do it, then we can just chase it away. If it is a one-sided forceful act, then we have to ask it to take responsibility. For it to even come to my place to cause trouble, what is this?" "Your Honor is right. I will call it over right now and have it confront this lady face to face." Wei Chang felt that it should be like that, just that. "I really don't understand, how did a skeleton taint a human?" Lai Gu said in a low voice, "Damn, is the evil spirit that you summoned so good at flirting? Even I have some thoughts about this woman." "Lai Gu, how can you not be disgusted to think about my little brother's woman?" "Tiske, I was just joking. Look at how anxious you are. I am a man who has mysophobia." Wei Chang chuckled. What a neat freak. Everyone moved to the toilet, and Wei Chang began his daily summoning, Death Mage. Under the overhead bridge, it was still the same position, it was still the same black gown, and it was still sitting on the side of death. The only thing that changed was Death Mage's phone. From a 10,000 yuan phone to a 1,000 yuan phone, even if it was late at night, Death Mage was still struggling. Bayu Biu. The surrounding vagrants' ears were all filled with cotton. Suddenly, Death Mage stopped and his body instantly disappeared. The surrounding vagrants felt that the flies in their ears had finally flown away, and all of them let out a breath of relief. Finally, they were able to sleep peacefully. In the toilet of the leisure bar. "Can't you just choose a clean place to summon?" Yi Hua said displeased. Wei Chang said respectfully, "Your Honor, be at ease, I have already cleaned up the place." "Can I lick it?" Lai Gu pouted his mouth and said. Right at this moment, a black figure appeared. Death Mage went into a daze for a moment, and soon after, he didn't even dare to think anymore and kneeled onto the ground. Your Honor. Chapter 138. Death Mage stood up while trembling. This is my first time seeing His Honor's face. I am really too lucky. I'm too excited. We are both undead, but His Honor is so outstanding. I am left in the dust, left in the dust. Lai Gu grinned. Little skeleton, you are not bad, your luck with women is not bad. Death Mage lowered his head, not daring to make any unnecessary movements and not daring to speak casually. Yihua said faintly, come out and take a look. Everyone walked out of the toilet. Do you know that woman? Yihua asked gravely. Death Mage did not dare to be negligent. Your Honor, I know her. She said that you have tainted her innocence, is that true? Yihua continued to ask. Death Mage went into a daze. Tainted her innocence? Oh, with my fingers? Your Honor, this is purely framing subordinate. I hope that Your Honor can return subordinate's innocence. Subordinate's innocence cannot be tainted by a woman. Death Mage immediately kowtowed. This woman is too shameless to actually complain about me in front of His Honor. Isn't it just removing your title as a female slave? To actually make such a big fuss in front of His Honor. Hateful humans. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have made the bet. I lost again. Yihua took out a cigarette, and Lai Gu immediately got angry. Lai Gu breathed out a mouthful of smoke. Do you dare to say it clearly to her face? Subordinate dares. Death Mage said gravely. All right, we will be witnesses then. If you dare to lie to me, you should know what will happen to you. Yihua said faintly. His words contained a majestic might, causing Death Mage to not dare to make any small movements. Subordinate understands. Subordinate will confront this woman right now. Death Mage was rather angry as well. I didn't kill this woman, and yet, this woman actually came to disturb His Honor's cultivation. Luckily, His Honor didn't blame me. If not, even if I were to die 10,000 times, I wouldn't be able to absolve myself from the blame. Damn, this subordinate of yours is not bad. This show is definitely going to be fun to watch. Lai Gu said softly at the side. Wei Chang let out a sigh. How can my subordinate possibly get close to a woman? It is completely impossible. Death Mage could be seen walking over slowly and stopped 5 meters away from Sun Fang. Sun Fang turned her head and looked towards Death Mage, and the two's gazes intersected in the air. Confirmed gaze, I met the right person. When Lai Gu saw the gazes of the two of them, he couldn't help but sing out slowly. That feeling of deep affection seemed to be reminiscing about his mother dragon. Sun Fang was already drunk to the point of dizziness, but when she saw that skull face, her blurred eyes instantly surged with killing intent. Without saying anything, she raised her sword and rushed forward. To a person who was already drunk, their brain might be able to move, but their body would not be able to keep up with the rhythm. As a result, Sun Fang directly pounced into Death Mage's embrace. Wei Chang stretched out his hand and covered Lai Gu's eyes. Children shouldn't look. Lai Gu immediately slapped Lai Gu's hand away. What? You want to monopolize such a good show? What if she wants to take off her clothes? As expected, this is a good show. Yihua muttered. Death Mage was alarmed. This feeling doesn't come from the woman, but from His Honor who is at the side. Sun Fang was feeling dizzy, and the long sword in her hand had already fallen onto the ground. Her small fist landed onto Death Mage's chest. Yihua and his two subordinates went into a daze. Why does this action seem so familiar? I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you, you skeleton, to actually forcefully kiss me and destroy my chastity. I'm going to kill you. Not only did this kind of tone not have any lethality, it was more like a woman who was acting coquettishly. For example, Yihua was able to sense that Xianxia would often say some unrealistic things. This time, Wei Chang finally understood what was going on. It seems like it was his subordinate who forcefully kissed another woman, and the other party was the kind of woman who viewed chastity as her life. I'm going to kill you. While speaking, Sun Fang became drunk. To her, the past few days were too tiring. Yihua brought Wei Chang and Lai Gu over and said, Do you know your crime? Death Mage was greatly startled and immediately knelt down. Your Honor, please spare my life. Subordinate only lowered my head. She didn't resist, and subordinate didn't destroy her chastity. Then, before you kissed her, did you get the other party's permission? Yihua asked gravely. Death Mage actually started sweating, and after a while he said, Subordinate knows his crime. Yihua snorted, and Wei Chang and Lai Gu immediately stood there obediently. I have already told you two before. We are here to cultivate our humanity, and we have to look at things from a human's point of view. How could you go and forcefully kiss someone without getting the other party's permission? Fortunately, you are my subordinate. If not, I would have stewed you. Yi Hua gave out a severe criticism. Is it glorious for something like this to be spread out? For a subordinate to have to forcefully kiss a human, and that human came to me to reason with me. If this was to be spread out, where would my face be? Death Mage was exulted. Thank you, Your Honor, for not killing me. Tell me what happened once. Lai Gu, bring the hops over. Yi Hua sat down and said. Wei Chang added, I want the melon seeds too. Death Mage stood up and wanted to throw the woman who was in his embrace out, but in the end he was stopped by his Honor's gaze. Yi Hua said faintly, as an undead, you have to dare to take responsibility for what you have done. Since you have destroyed the other party's chastity, and the other party also came to me to reason with me, I will not be biased towards anyone. From today onwards, you will have to take good care of this woman. Your Honor? Death Mage really wanted to cry. Why did I end up in such a situation? I can't even protect myself and I still have to bring a woman along. Are you thinking of disobeying my orders? I don't dare. Lai Gu brought over the hops and melon seeds and Yi Hua said faintly, tell me what happened once. In the following half an hour, Death Mage began his performance. Especially when it came to the climax, he was simply unable to control himself. Your Honor, this woman is too shameless. She coveted subordinate's appearance, and in front of everyone's eyes she even said that subordinate secretly kissed her. And now because of this she even came to Your Honor and disturbed Your Honor's sleep time. Subordinate blushed with shame. I hope that Your Honor can retract your orders. This kind of woman is truly not to be trifled with. After finished speaking, Death Mage lowered his head. Just now, I had already fought for my final chance. If I am still unable to get rid of this woman, then I will just accept my fate. Yi Hua did not say anything and was currently thinking about another problem. This woman's background is not small, she is actually the sect master of Cloud Sect. I reckon that I will be able to use her in some way in the future. For a woman like this to be compatible with my subordinate, just that, for me to make my subordinate use the honey trap, this is truly making things difficult for me. What do you two think? Yi Hua asked Wei Chang and Lai Gu. The two's hearts sunk. It's time for the exam again. I forgot to draw circles in the past. After a long while, Wei Chang said solemnly, Your Honor, subordinate feels that it is better to destroy a temple than to destroy a marriage. Since this sect master has taken a fancy to my subordinate as the sect master, I as the sect master should be happy. Hearing what Wei Chang said, Lai Gu's eyes shone. Your Honor, what gluttonous monster said is extremely true. This is a love that transcends races. However, when Lai Gu finished speaking, the three went into a daze. Soon after, they looked towards Death Mage's face, then looked towards Sun Fang who was in Death Mage's embrace. This fellow actually used his real body to make a human woman fall in love with him, and furthermore the human woman is a beautiful female sect master. This female sect master's taste is rather unique. If Yi Hua and the others were to reveal their real bodies, I reckon that other people would probably faint from fright. Yi Hua coughed lightly. He did not want to lecture his two subordinates and said, It is already quite late, this matter is decided, all of you can go back to your places now. After finished speaking, Yi Hua turned around and went upstairs. My little brother's woman has already come to look for me, and my little brother's woman is even more so, and yet, my woman is acting like that. Chapter 139. Death Mage hugged onto Sun Fang who was in his embrace, and he even had the heart to die as he shouted out lightly, Master, since his honor has spoken, you should just treat this human well. After Wei Chang finished speaking, he stepped into the black void. Lai Gu smiled and patted on Death Mage's shoulder. If you don't want it, you can give it to me. Death Mage was very straightforward as he stretched out both of his hands. Lai Gu was startled. His honor is from the undead race as well, and this undead race sure is straightforward. Brat, it is better for you to keep it for yourself. After finished speaking, Lai Gu disappeared, leaving behind Death Mage who had a depressed look on his face. Looking at the woman in his arms, the corners of her eyes were still wet. Even though she was drunk, her brows were still tightly knitted. Death Mage let out a heavy sigh. If I knew that it would be like this, I wouldn't have revoked her identity as a female slave. Listening to his honor's words, I still have to treat her well. How is it possible that I don't even have money to play games and I still have to raise a woman? What kind of joke is this? Death Mage also disappeared from the leisure bar. As for where he went, it was naturally under the heavenly bridge. The only difference was that he had to carry a woman while fishing, and the surrounding vagrants were suffering unspeakably. The next day Yi Hua woke up very early in the morning and looked at the weather outside. The weather was warm and sunny. The weather was the most suitable for traveling. When he thought of his meticulous plan, the corners of his mouth unconsciously curled up. After washing up, Yihua woke up Xianxia, who was sleeping in his sister-in-law's room. Qin Yutong naturally had to pretend that she had recovered from her illness. This way, Xianxia would be able to go to Yihua's room with peace of mind. Xianxia had prepared some clothes, and while wearing a big round hat to block the sun, Xianxia looked very comfortable. Right now, even if Xianxia didn't have any noble clothes on, Xianxia was still able to show off her nobility. Yihua was very satisfied with Xianxia's change. This is the temperament that his honor's wife should have. Yihua, where are we going? Xianxia asked faintly, and her tone was still the same, neither warm nor angry. Yihua said indifferently, you will know once you get there. This guy, he wanted to give me a surprise, but he was still sneaky. Do you think I don't know what you're thinking? Little sister must have been bribed by you. At this moment, Wei Chang and Lai Gu were already waiting downstairs. Beside them, there were 4 women who were dressed in maid attire, and they were acting as the service personnel for this trip. Among them were Wei Chang's girlfriend, Tang Wei, and Lai Gu's 3 big celebrities, Yi Wenxia and Bai Xiaozhen. It must be said that Wei Chang and Lai Gu's eyesight was very good. These 4 women could be considered as top-notch beauties, especially after they ate the golden delicate crane. Their appearance became even more beautiful. Looking at his subordinates' women, Yihua couldn't help but nod his head. I will be able to bring them out. As for whether or not they will be able to gain face, that will have to depend on how well they teach them. When Xianxia saw these 4 women, she was a bit stupefied. Why are all of them wearing maid attire? All kinds of black silk, all kinds of lace, all kinds of visual allure. Although their expressions were filled with respect, Xianxia still felt that it was strange. Even Xiao Tang is among them, and why do those 3 women look so familiar to me? Boss, lady, boss. The people below shouted in unison. Yihua gladly accepted it, and although Xianxia was stupefied, she still accepted it. Those 3 celebrities are my subordinates' women. Yihua added, lest the jealous king beside him took the opportunity to make a fuss. Xianxia snorted. Today is a rare opportunity. I and my subordinate have not gone out together for a very long time. As for why I am bringing them out, firstly, they can do odd jobs, and secondly, they also need to go on a date. Yihua said faintly. Xianxia didn't believe him. Are all you cultivators like this when you go out? Do you feel that they have become our big light bulb? If you want, we can go to the world of just the 2 of us. Yihua said softly beside Xianxia's ear. Towards Yihua's teasing, Xianxia pinched Yihua harshly, then rolled her eyes at Yihua and walked forward. Yihua laughed lightly. Women, they always say one thing but mean another. The 4 women who were acting as maids immediately took over the small box from Xianxia's hands, and their expressions were incomparably respectful. Yihua, Wei Chang and Lai Gu walked at the back. Are there any abnormalities with your women? Yihua asked faintly. Your Honor, don't worry, they are able to fight, defend and deal damage. Lai Gu laughed. Wei Chang laughed lightly. Right now, Xiao Tang is still not proficient in controlling her strength. Subordinate will let her practice diligently in the future. The 2 of you have done well. In the future, there will definitely be more people that will be needed. For now, train properly. Yes. Yes. Outside of the bar, 2 top-end Qians were parked. This time, Xianxia finally did not have to be the chauffeur and sat at the back with Yihua. Wei Chang was the chauffeur, Lai Gu sat at the front passenger seat, and the 4 maids sat in the second car. Yihua didn't say where they were going, but Wei Chang knew where they were going. Playing was a part of it, causing trouble was also a part of it, and killing was also a part of it. After Lai Gu got onto the car, he sent a message to his women, telling them to go and clear the bar first, to prevent anyone from disturbing his honor's mood. After receiving the message, Lai Gu said to Wenxia, who was beside him, Gugu told us to go and clear the bar first. Wenxia was the only one who had short hair out of the 4 women. She was filled with a heroic spirit, and even gave people a kind of feeling of handsomeness. Of course, it was the kind of handsomeness that belonged to women, and her figure belonged to the fiery type. Lai Gu was very fond of this type. The one who was sitting behind Wenxia was called Bai Xiaozhen. She belonged to the cute type of beauty. Her oval face looked very comfortable, and her bashful look couldn't help but make people feel tender towards her. As for Tang Wei, there was no need to talk about her. She belonged to the pure type of girl. Perhaps it was because she wasn't familiar with Lai Gu, or perhaps it was because she saw the 3 celebrities she was a bit nervous. Clear the bar. A trace of an evil smile appeared on the corner of Wenxia's mouth as she stepped on the accelerator, and like an arrow that left the bow, the top-end Qian shot out. Tang Wei immediately grabbed onto the handle of the car. I feel that they are very ferocious, they are completely different from what I see on television. In the beginning, Tang Wei was actually very nervous. Uncle Wei asked me to come over and act as the boss's waiter, and I felt that it was quite an honor. However, when I thought about how I am the only one coming over, I became a bit nervous, afraid that I would do something wrong. After hearing that there were 3 more celebrities, Tang Wei immediately let out a sigh of relief. When she saw the 3 celebrities that came over this morning, Tang Wei was very surprised. They are actually the popular actresses. I even secretly asked Uncle Wei, and in the end, those 3 actresses are actually Uncle Wei's friends' women. I am about to get dizzy. However, looking at their expressions, they are even more nervous than me. Hello, I am Bai Xiaozhen, nice to meet you. Just when Tang Wei was thinking blindly, Bai Xiaozhen, who was at the side, took the initiative to greet Tang Wei, and with a blush on her small face, Tang Wei cried out in surprise. Soon after, she held on to Bai Xiaozhen's delicate hand and said, "Hello, I am Tang Wei. From what I heard from Gugu, you are Uncle Wei's girlfriend." Bai Xiaozhen's voice was a bit low. Even if she was talking to a girl, she would still be shy and lower her head. However, it was precisely because of this that Bai Xiaozhen gained countless fans in the entertainment circle. Every time a male fan saw that shy look on Bai Xiaozhen's face, Bai Xiaozhen would instantly earn a few hundred million. Chapter 140. You guys know about this too? Tang Wei also became a bit shy, and a blush slowly climbed onto her neck. Wuxia, who was driving, stretched out her hand and said coolly, "Wuxia." Tang Wei immediately held onto her hand. "Hello." She turned her head and smiled sweetly. "Hello Tang Wei, my name is Iran." "Hello." Tang Wei was a bit overwhelmed by the favor, so they are actually very amiable and approachable. "You are thinking too much, isn't it all because of your Wei Chang's woman?" Wuxia still smiled gently. "Xiao Tang, we are friends in the future, we need to walk around more often." What big sister Iran said is right. Tang Wei was the youngest among the 4, so it was normal for her to address the other 3 as big sister. Bai Xiaozhen said weakly, "Tang Wei, are you prepared? We are going to clear the place later." "Do we need to prepare for clearing the place too?" Tang Wei asked innocently. Wuxia said calmly, "Clearing the place is equivalent to killing." Tang Wei was immediately stupefied, while Bai Xiaozhen seemed very shy, but her pair of beautiful eyes were flickering with excitement. Don't think that only Yi Hua was instilling crooked logic into Xianxia, Lai Gu was the same as well, and his brainwashing was very successful. However, this time, it was a rare opportunity for him to pull all of the women out to train and see the effect. In actuality, Wei Chang also had the same intention. Tang Wei's temperament was still too kind, and this was not a good thing. Coming out today was to let her train her courage. Yi Hua's car drove at a moderate speed, and when Xianxia saw the car behind them speeding away, she asked curiously, "It is very dangerous for them to drive so fast." Lai Gu smiled, "Madam, don't worry, they know what they are doing." "What are they in a hurry to do? Isn't it good for them to go together with us?" Xianxia asked. "Madam, they are going over first to prepare." Lai Gu explained carefully. His mood was pretty good. Yi Hua said faintly, "Why would there be so many questions?" Xianxia snorted, "Can't I just ask out of curiosity?" He really acts like a big boss no matter where he goes. I feel that my mental state is also developing towards this direction. Very quickly they got on the highway. Xianxia was very curious where Yi Hua was going to bring her to play, and as she thought about it, she got a bit sleepy and gradually fell asleep. Yi Hua took a look at Xianxia. Only a sleeping Xianxia is capable of making one feel tender affection for her. Seeing that Xianxia was slowly falling to one side and was about to touch the door frame, Yi Hua stretched out his hand and held onto Xianxia's forehead, then lightly hugged onto Xianxia's shoulder and let Xianxia use his shoulder as a pillow. Xianxia, who was asleep, pursed her lips and hugged onto Yi Hua's arm. "Because if I don't hug onto something, I will feel that something is missing." "Drive it steadily," Yi Hua said faintly. Wei Chang, who was driving, nodded and controlled the speed at 100. "Damn it, it's been a few days and I can finally hug this stupid woman. Today is really a good day." 2 hours later they got off the highway, entered the village road and then turned into the mountain road. They drove through the forest for half an hour. If there were people, they would sometimes see flying cars. Not long later they finally arrived at their destination. At this place there was a waterfall that wasn't big nor small, and the water droplets that splashed out from the waterfall were as fine as dust and smoke. As the water droplets floated in the air, they formed a mist that covered the forest with a layer of thin veil. At first glance, an extremely beautiful rainbow could even be seen. The water quality of the water here was not something that the water quality in the city could compare to. If one were to look carefully, one would even be able to see fishes swimming at the bottom of the water. Presumably, the meat of the fishes would be delicious and delicious. 4 maids could be seen to have arrived at the scene a long time ago, and all of the facilities were already prepared. Tents, chairs, dining tables, cooking utensils, food, etc. were currently standing in a row to welcome them. However, just an hour ago the scene here wasn't this peaceful. 1 hour ago, Big Sister Xia, are we lost? Tang Wei, who was sitting at the back, asked curiously. She opened up her phone and took a look at it, then said, "We aren't." Gugu had already come over to take a look. "We have arrived," Wen Xia said coldly as she stepped on the accelerator. Tang Wei took a look and immediately cried out in surprise, "Big Sister Xia, there is a waterfall in front of us, quickly stop the car." Amidst Tang Wei's screams, the Qian flew out from the top of the waterfall. Other than Tang Wei, the other 3 women felt that it was very exciting. Bang! The entire car unreasonably landed at the bottom of the waterfall, and Tang Wei had yet to come back to her senses. Bai Ji still smiled. "Everyone, prepare yourselves and strive to perform well in front of the boss. Don't make things difficult for Gugu." "You are still right, although it is just a simple outing." Gugu said that it is also a part of the boss test. When Xia loosened the seatbelt and took out a mirror to take a look at herself. "I better not lose face as a man in front of the boss." Tang Wei was completely stupefied, not understanding what they were talking about. "What are you all talking about? Why don't I understand what you all are talking about?" Tang Wei asked confusedly. Bai Xiaojun said tenderly, "Tang Wei, you will know after we get off the car." While feeling puzzled, Tang Wei got off the car along with the 3 women. Sizing up the surroundings, "I feel that it is indeed not bad. This is a good place for camping." 4 such delicate and beautiful women appeared in the depths of the forest, and furthermore, they were dressed so alluringly. All of them were dressed in black lace-made attire, and their long legs were dressed in black stockings, and the stockings were even the kind that had a net on them. On their feet they were wearing high heels, and their long legs were vividly displayed. Immediately, countless sounds of saliva being swallowed rang out from the surroundings. Bang! 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 In an instant, countless figures descended from the sky, and the way they appeared was extremely shocking. Wherever they landed, the ground would be stepped on, and from this, it could be seen how valiant they were. Tang Wei was a bit scared as she moved closer to the other 3 women. Around 100 people surrounded the 4 women in the center, and all of these people were dressed in different styles. Some were dressed in ancient style, some were dressed in modern style, and there were even some who wore bell-bottoms. However, the only thing that all of them had in common was their gazes. They wished that they could swallow the 4 women in front of them. A handsome man could be seen flinging his bangs as he walked out with large strides. "I am Extreme Will Pavilion's big disciple, Sun Wei." "You all? Who are you all?" He immediately revealed a delicate and weak look as she hugged onto Wen Xia's arm. Not only did this action not make others feel pity for her, he even started laughing out loud, and his gaze revealed savagery. "Beauties, this place has long been taken over by us. Let's go then." As expected of a celebrity, when they start playing around, it would be great. Sun Wei immediately stopped. "Beauties, don't be like this. I have just regained my single status and I can see that you look pretty good. How about becoming my girlfriend?" After saying that, he stretched out his hand, wanting to touch Ran's pretty face. However, before he could even touch her face, he flew into the sky like a cannonball and even lit up for a moment. Bai Xiaojun said shyly, I only wanted to give him a kick. I didn't expect that it would turn out like this." The surrounding men sucked in a breath of cold air. A delicate woman had actually kicked an adult man into the air, and this was not an ordinary kick. He flew into the sky and had yet to land. Chapter 141. She still maintained her weak expression and said indifferently, "Each of you take one direction. The boss is coming soon. Hurry up." When Xia and Bai Xiaojun nodded, Tang Wei was still panicking. When she appeared again, her slender legs were on top of a man's forehead. The high heels on her feet had pierced through the man's skull. Blood flowed out from the heels. The man's eyes were filled with shock, but he could not help but look down. He immediately felt that he died with grievance. She was actually wearing safety pants. Screams suddenly sounded. The small valley was filled with wails. The clear water turned bright red. Tang Wei looked at the man in front of her with a sinister expression. She continuously retreated until she leaned against the car door. Die. The man raised his butcher knife, as if he had already seen the beauty being cut into 2. Tang Wei was very nervous, but she also knew to resist. She grabbed the man's arm and flung it. Maybe because she used too much strength, she did not throw the man out, but her arm was forcibly torn off. Looking at the arm that was spurting blood, a black mist flashed past Tang Wei's beautiful eyes, the gentleness on her face gradually faded, and was replaced with a fierce look. Kill? This was a completely one-sided situation. There was no possibility of turning the tables, not even letting anyone escape. The method was so cruel that even the heavens had to cover it up, unable to bear to look at it. In a few minutes there was only one person left out of the few hundred people, and that person did not move at all. He was just a lackey that had just entered the sect, often boasting that he had a strong backing, bullying people in all kinds of ways. Knowing that this time they were going to cause trouble, he became even more terrible. In the end, before the matter even started, it came to them. When had they ever seen this kind of scene? They had only seen it on the television. Quickly come here, there is an honest person here, quickly come and bully him. Bai Xiaojun waved her pure white willow arms, her whole body was clean, not letting the dirty blood stick to her body. Yi ran when Xia and Tang Wei slowly walked over. The man was already scared to the point of peeing. He knelt on the ground with a plop. I will tell you everything. We are from the north, we are guarding here to ambush. I will tell you everything you want to know. Please don't kill me. She still walked over slowly, looking down at the man kneeling down. This is not important, killing you is just to let the boss have some peace. Boss? The man slowly raised his head and looked at the woman in front of him. They actually had a boss. They killed so many people just to let the boss have some peace and quiet. Who was their boss? The man suddenly felt an itch on his neck. After the world spun around him, he saw his body kneeling on the ground. Where did my head go? Where did my head go? Why can't I feel the existence of my hands? No. I don't want to die. After dealing with the last one, he opened the trunk again. Let's split up the work. Don't dirty the boss's eyes. That was the situation an hour ago. Get up. Yihua called out lightly. Sob, sob, sob. Yihua sighed helplessly. However, when Xianxia let out such a tender moan, Yihua felt his heart itching. Have we arrived? Xianxia opened her hazy beautiful eyes, and suddenly discovered that she was currently hugging onto Yihua. Xianxia immediately let go of Yihua. Yihua snorted coldly. What? Are you going to let go after hugging me enough? It's not like I wanted to hug you on purpose. Xianxia said in a low voice, then opened the door and got off the car, not giving Yihua the chance to flip out. A slight smile appeared on Yihua's face. Your Honor, seems like the madam is still unable to escape from your palms. Wei Chang calmed down and said with a slight smile. Yihua snorted lightly. She will never be able to escape from my palms in this lifetime. Lai Gu quickly took out a small notebook and recorded down his honor's golden words, then tell them to his women. Wouldn't that make them feel extremely touched? Then, just thinking about all kinds of services made me feel extremely happy. After getting off the car, Yihua smelled a familiar smell of blood. Taking a deep breath, I feel great. Boss. The four women shouted out tenderly. Yihua nodded his head and said faintly, You have done well. Thank you for your praise, boss. The four women slightly bowed their bodies and shouted out. Meanwhile, Xianxia was currently playing with rocks not far away. Xianxia appeared to be indifferent, but she would observe Yihua from time to time. Seeing Xianxia's adorable actions, Yihua walked over. Even the boss is praising you all, not bad. Lai Gu walked forward and hooked onto Bai Xiaojun's chin. Bai Xiaojun shyly lowered her head. Wenxia, give me a smile. Lai Gu stretched out his hand and slapped onto Bai Xiaojun's head. Wenxia, who had been cold the entire time, revealed a bashful look. Annoying, ha! While they were whispering sweet nothings to each other, Tang Wei directly threw herself into Wei Chang's embrace. Gently caressing the woman in his arms, Wei Chang said softly, Are you used to it? Yes, it's all right. From an obedient school belle, Tang Wei gradually turned into a female-killing god. The three celebrities were also the same. In the past, they did not even dare to think that they would have such a day. Bad guy training school? Do you want to know about it? Yihua walked to Xianxia's side and said faintly, You drooled just now again. Xianxia took a glance at Yihua's shoulder. There is nothing there, liar. Don't look, I wiped it off. Humph. Pay attention to your image. With so many subordinates looking at you, you have to act like a wife. Yihua said, then walked towards Wei Chang and the others. Xianxia stomped her feet and threw out a small stone. This scoundrel is actually starting to educate me again. Doesn't he know that we are in a cold war? However, what Yihua said was still reasonable. As a madam, she had to act like a madam and not let her subordinates look down on her. I'll give him some face today. After finished speaking, Xianxia's aura changed and she slowly walked over. Yihua said to Wei Chang and Lai Gu, Look, as long as I play a few tricks, she will immediately surrender. Your honor is wise and resourceful, subordinate admires you. Wei Chang said fearfully. Seems like in the future if I encounter any relationship problems, I can look for his honor to resolve them. Your honor is formidable. Lai Gu was filled with admiration. His honor is becoming more and more intelligent, he is no longer as simple-minded as he was in the past. In order to show his authority, Yi Hua waved his hand towards Xianxia. Xianxia pouted her mouth, then walked over. Yi Hua felt very comfortable in his heart. This is just the beginning, that's all. Of course, a barbecue was necessary for camping. All of these things have already been prepared. As the 4 maids for today, their mission was to take care of everyone's food and drinks. Yi Hua sat at the side of the water and started fishing. Accompanying him was naturally Wei Chang and Lai Gu. Wei Chang was still all right, but Lai Gu had an impatient look on his face. Because not a single fish took the bait, he was about to explode from anger. Xianxia lay on the bench and would occasionally peel some fruits for Yi Hua. This could be counted as giving Yi Hua a bit of face to prevent him from throwing a tantrum. Chapter 142. Lai Gu swung his fishing rod again. Boss, my fish isn't coming up, is it because the bait has expired? You are the one that has expired. Wei Chang teased. Although Xianxia didn't say anything, she was still listening at the side. She felt that sometimes they were like superior and subordinate and sometimes they were like friends and Yi Hua played the leading role in the middle. She felt that this man had a whole body of secrets that he just didn't want to tell her. A cultivator actually opened a bar in a remote alley, and his subordinates were even working as security guards in the bar. There was even a strange dog at that time and who knows where it went right now. I reckon that it was stewed by someone. But their actions are too strange? Could it be that Yi Hua is hiding from some enemy and that's why he is hiding like this? No matter if it is television or novels, they all say that the weak are prey to the strong in the cultivation world. If Yi Hua is really hiding from his enemy, what should I do? Why don't I go abroad together, and if it really doesn't work I can just hide in the mountains. This way Yi Hua's enemy won't be able to find him. Xianxia instantly planned out countless escape plans in her mind. Her originally good mood was completely gone, and her heart was filled with worry. Looking at the ordinary Yi Hua, that relaxed look of his, is he faking it for me to see? This scoundrel is really hiding everything from me, doesn't he know that we are already husband and wife? If there are difficulties we should face them together, what a male chauvinist. Although I don't have any abilities, at least my brain is enough, and I am also very rich. I definitely have enough funds to escape and I definitely won't starve. Yi Hua, who was fishing, completely didn't know what Xianxia was thinking in her little head. If he knew, he would definitely smack her head. Am I the kind of person who is hiding from my enemy? If I really want to bring out my enemy, it would be those overlords. It's good to find them, I don't have to look for them myself. Yi Hua stretched out his hand. Xianxia picked up the orange and placed it in Yi Hua's hand, then snorted and looked at the other side. Looking at Xianxia's angry look, Yi Hua couldn't understand. The speed at which this woman's face changes is faster than flipping a book. Boss, looking at the situation, I'm afraid that it will break out from the ground tonight. Wei Chang placed the fish that he caught into the bucket and said lightly. Yi Hua nodded his head, he didn't put it in his heart at all. Lai Gu didn't have the mood to fish at all and said softly, Boss, let me go and do something. If your balls are in pain, then go and find your woman. Yi Hua silently lit up a stick of cigarette. Understood. Lai Gu immediately put down the fishing rod in his hand, then turned around and walked towards his woman. After that, he pulled Wuxia, who had a bashful look, and ran into the forest. Meanwhile, Tang Wei, who was chopping vegetables, had a look of curiosity on her face. Xianxia snorted coldly. What kind of subordinate will have what kind of boss? Since subordinates are frivolous by nature, the boss will definitely not be any better. Thinking back to the time when I met Yi Hua just now, he was flirting with a good girl. Boss, are we really not going to do anything this time? Wei Chang asked curiously. Yi Hua took a puff of his cigarette and stared at the water. Do you still remember the question that I asked you yesterday? Problem? That subordinate of yours. Yi Hua reminded. Wei Chang recalled what his honor meant, but he still didn't understand what his honor meant. Your subordinate is slow-witted. Flicking away the cigarette ash, Yi Hua said calmly, according to the words of the humans, we are not part of their circle. However, it is different now, we have their people. Boss, you were talking about that woman? Wei Chang's eyes lit up. If that woman didn't appear, the two of you would have gone to play today. However, I have changed my mind. Wei Chang still didn't quite understand and was very confused. Yi Hua continued, Sometimes humans will be unscrupulous in order to achieve their goals. Even if it means ruining a woman's innocence and making her wish that she was dead, if I were to make use of that woman, I would be able to pick up a butcher's knife and kill my own kind. How interesting would that be? Wei Chang finally understood and said in submission, "Boss is brilliant. Remember back then, how many humans were abandoned by their companions? If I had taken them in back then, they would have become a sharp sword. However, it is a pity that back then I was too foolish and the consequences were even more devastating." Speaking up to here, Yi Hua's voice became gloomy. "Your Honor, we are also at fault. Don't push all of the responsibility onto yourselves. As your boss, not being able to look at the big picture is a failure." Yi Hua let out a breath. After being a human for 5 years, only then did I understand what is called looking at the big picture. Thinking back to everything that happened in the past, I feel that I am just like a child playing house, very childish. Killing countless people is nothing more than silently killing people. Those Supremes had indeed taught him a lesson. Wei Chang, this world is not that simple. Just treat it as a practice so that in the future, you will be able to continue conquering the world with me. Subordinate understands. A trace of bloodthirstiness flashed past Wei Chang's eyes, and a scene had already appeared in his mind. His honor was standing in the center position, and behind him were the 7 sins from back then, and beneath his feet were all human skeletons. Have your little skeleton make preparations. Whether or not that female sect leader will be able to change sides will depend on him. Yi Hua flicked away the cigarette but that was in his hand, then drew an arc in the air and landed on the surface of the water. Yes. Xianxia pursed her sexy cherry lips. These two fellows are actually whispering to each other and acting so sneakily, they definitely don't have any good intentions. What kind of words can't be said in front of me? This is infuriating. Boss, the meat is already roasted. Tang Wei shouted out. Xianxia, go and bring the meat over. Yi Hua shouted out. Not going. Yo, watch how I am going to take care of you tonight. Unexpectedly, Xianxia went back into the tent while panting with rage. Yi Hua stood up and decided that there was no need to wait until nighttime. I'm going to go and teach her a lesson right now on how to be a wife. The 3 maids first looked at the lady boss who went back into the tent, then looked at the boss who went back into the tent. Immediately they thought of something and their faces became slightly red. The relationship between the boss and the lady boss sure is good. Tang Wei secretly took a look at Uncle Wei, and upon discovering that Uncle Wei was also looking at her, Tang Wei immediately lowered her head. There are only 3 tents today, I definitely have to be together with Uncle Wei. Upon thinking about this, Tang Wei's heart started thumping. Seeing Tang Wei's shy look and the way she dressed up today, Wei Chang's gradually aging heart slowly recovered. However, before that, I still have to complete the task that his honor had given me. Death Mage. Wei Chang did not summon Death Mage, rather, he was merely sending a message over a long distance. Death Mage. Wei Chang called out once again. Why is there no response? Death Mage. Cough cough cough, Master. You woman, don't come over. Master, sorry, please wait a moment. Death Mage's tone was very panicked. Wei Chang let out a breath. After quite a while, Death Mage replied, Master, I have knocked that woman unconscious, no one will disturb our conversation anymore. Who allowed you to knock her unconscious? Wei Chang was puzzled and soon after he was greatly startled. Master. His honor gave you a new task. Wei Chang said gravely. Death Mage's eyes flickered with red light. His honor finally gave me a task. It is definitely that kind of bloody and violent task. Subordinate will not hesitate to risk my life. Very good. His honor's task is to make that human woman fall madly in love with you. Wei Chang felt that this was exactly what his honor meant. Chapter 143. Since you don't speak, I'll take it that you agree. There's a chance today. Take it. Wei Chang cut off the connection. On the other side, Death Mage had a stupefied look on his face as he looked at the woman who had fainted. Make her fall in love with me? Perhaps it was possible to turn her into a skeleton. After all, she was a bit ugly and not as good-looking as a skeleton. She was also uncomfortable to the touch because she was too fleshy and not hard enough. In the tent. Seeing that Yi Hua walked in, Xianxia said coldly, Don't come in, get out. Yi Hua directly sat down and said faintly, This is my tent, why can't I come in? Seeing that Xianxia was about to stand up and leave, Yi Hua said unhurriedly, The other 2 tents belong to Wei Chang and Lai Gu. You are shameless. Xianxia scolded, and her small fists immediately punched towards Yi Zichen. Meanwhile, Yihua grabbed onto Xianxia's wrist. Other than here, you can't go anywhere else. I'm going back. Go back? The road is full of trees and I'm afraid it will be dark before you can walk out of here. There are many wild beasts in this wilderness. Xianxia glared at him and said angrily, You schemed against me. Yihua did not speak and slowly laid down. Meanwhile, Xianxia snorted and laid on the other side of the bed. After a while, Yihua said faintly, I allow you to come over. This sentence of Yihua's caused Xianxia to be angered to the point of laughing. To even allow it, he is simply a narcissist. Aren't you going to come closer? Forget it, there are plenty of women I want to rely on. You dare. Xianxia sat up and glared at Yihua. Meanwhile, a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yihua's mouth. Xianxia immediately felt that she had been fooled. I knew that he didn't have any good intentions. If you can sleep by yourself. How could Yihua let Xianxia off so easily? Yihua stretched out his hand and hugged onto Xianxia. Xianxia cried out in surprise and fell into Yihua's embrace. What are you doing? What do you think I'm doing? You are shameless. Xianxia's face immediately became red. There are still people outside. Yihua snorted coldly, I never had a face in the past. To think that you are still the supreme overlord, you just like to act cool in front of me, Xianxia snorted. In actuality, in her heart, she was very happy. In the end, isn't it still you who took the initiative to ask for peace? Pa Yihua patted lightly. You spanked me. Who asked you to be disobedient? Yihua said coldly. Right now it was time for Yihua to be taught a lesson. Who knew that Xianxia would not be afraid of Yihua? Raising her arm, Xianxia slapped Yihua's butt. Yihua was completely stupefied. Meanwhile, when Xianxia saw Yihua's current appearance, she immediately cowered and did not dare to look straight at Yihua. Do you know what you did just now? Yihua said gravely. Xianxia lowered her head and said softly, I don't know. Admit your mistake. Do you believe that I won't smack your butt into mush? Yihua said fiercely, and his hand was already raised high into the air. Xianxia was startled, then immediately became terrified. I was wrong, why are you so petty? Didn't I just spank your butt once? You have already spanked me so many times. Yihua laughed in his heart. Xianxia, how can you be a match for me? While hugging onto the woman in his embrace, Yihua said faintly, Do you know that you were wrong for the past few days? He raised his hand. I was wrong. Yihua was very satisfied. Do you dare to do it again next time? Xianxia bit onto her lips. This is also because I don't have the strength, otherwise I would have spanked your butt until it becomes swollen. I don't dare to do it again. Xianxia said pitifully. After pausing for a moment, Yihua asked gravely, Doll, how did you come here? Where did you put my doll? Upon thinking about this matter, Xianxia sent her little fist towards Yihua. I burned it. Doll, even if you burn one of me, there are still thousands and thousands of me. Xianxia said petulantly, What are you doing? It's free, it's very cute. It deserves to die for sleeping with my woman. Go to hell. Xianxia was amused by Yihua. As expected of a jealous king in the cultivation world. However, Xianxia liked this kind of Yihua. Within being overbearing, there was a trace of doting, just like those overbearing CEOs that I read when I was in school. Are we going to quarrel again next time? Yihua asked. Not quarrel anymore. What if we quarrel? It's all my fault. What if it's all my fault? Then it's definitely my fault first. Yihua really wanted to record these words down, then flaunt it once and see how I, the Supreme Overlord, teach women. I wonder where those men who are afraid of their wives come from. Without any effort, Xianxia admitted defeat. However, in Xianxia's heart, it was Yihua who admitted defeat first, and I gave him face and gave him a way out. Suddenly, Yihua pressed Xianxia down onto his body. Xianxia looked at Yihua dumbfoundedly. Meanwhile, Yihua couldn't help but kiss onto Xianxia, expressing that he had wanted to kiss her for a long time. This woman is making me more and more infatuated with her. After a long time, the two separated from each other, and Xianxia said coquettishly, You liar. Liar? Feign ignorance. I don't know who said it, but I won't touch the same woman twice. Xianxia imitated Yihua's tone and said weirdly. Yihua went into a slight daze, then said faintly, I will lie to whoever I want to lie to. Shameless. No credibility. Big liar. Well. However, right now, not only was Yihua enjoying the kiss, he even stretched his hand onto Xianxia's body. This caused Xianxia to immediately push Yihua away, then ran out with a red face. Looking at Xianxia who ran away, Yihua pursed his lips. We are already an old couple, why are you still being shy? However, when the people outside saw the lady boss running out with a red face, she had a look of as expected on her face. Wei Chang's reverence towards his honor rose to another level. However, Lai Gu had yet to return. At the same time, there was another woman who was about to go crazy. At an old residential area in Long'an City, this place was basically rented out to the public. After Sun Fang came down from the mountain, she conveniently stayed at this place. Right now, Sun Fang was sitting on the sofa with a long sword in her hand. Looking at Death Mage who was playing games, she gasped for breath. Don't misunderstand, I am tired from fighting. Even now, I still remember that when I woke up in the morning, I saw that face the moment I opened my eyes. Without saying anything, I immediately started fighting, and in the end, I discovered that my spiritual energy was sealed. For the sake of revenge, I followed him wherever he went. I used all kinds of sneak attacks, all kinds of stabs, and even poisoned him with arsenic. In the end, this skeleton was immune to all kinds of poisons, his bones were extremely hard, and even his shoulders were sore. Furthermore, for the sake of revenge, I didn't hesitate to let him stay at this place. How could I possibly sleep under the bridge like him? Furthermore, for the sake of making him not leave and taking the opportunity to take revenge, I even topped up my money to play games, and even bought cigars for him. This enemy of mine even clamored that if I don't top up my money, I will leave. Bayubiu. Hearing the sound of fishing, Sun Fang powerlessly leaned onto the sofa. My enemy is right in front of me, yet I am actually powerless to do anything. Just how am I supposed to kill this skeleton? Can I stew it? Waiting online. Chapter 144. GGG, Imperial Translation. It's time to top up. Death Mage picked up his phone and knocked on the screen. On the screen it showed that his balance was not enough. Sun Fang was about to collapse. 2 hours ago she had given him 500 yuan. Are you eating money? It's gone so quickly. He did not bring much money with him when he left the sect this time. He only had a few thousand yuan on him because he was bent on revenge. Seeing that the woman on the sofa did not have any reaction, Death Mage started typing on his phone. If you're not going to top up, I'm leaving. A blatant threat. So many young geniuses have come up the mountain to ask for her hand in marriage, but this sect leader has never bothered with them. But now I'm asking a skeleton to stay. This is retribution. Sun Fang threw the phone on the table and coldly shouted, "Charge." Death Mage was not courteous at all, and he immediately started transferring the money to the bank. His actions were done in one go, and it seemed like he had done this many times before. On the other hand, Sun Fang was very angry. Picking up her own sword, she fiercely chopped towards Death Mage's head until the web between her thumb and forefinger started bleeding. However, the black robe that Death Mage was wearing was not even cut open. Seeing that Death Mage had returned the phone to her, Sun Fang took it over. However, when he saw the balance on the card, it was as if he had been struck by lightning. 1 yuan. Sun Fang immediately snatched over Death Mage's phone, only to see that there were more than 10 gold coins, and he actually rushed all of them. Sun Fang covered her forehead and slumped weakly on the sofa. Then she raised her sword and slashed again. As she slashed, she cursed, "You bastard, I'll chop you to death. How dare you use my money to play games? You don't want to eat, but I still want to eat. I'll hack you to death." Ah. Bayubiu. Sun Fang was speechless. Looking at the cigars on the table, Sun Fang's gaze hardened. She took one out, walked into the kitchen and took out a blue bottle from her backpack. Ecstasy powder. This poison was in the form of powder and could be added to drinking water. It could also be ignited and floated in the air. It was an essential medicine for killing and robbing people. Furthermore, it was extremely precious. Sun Fang did not want to waste it, but she had no other choice. He added the ecstasy powder into the cigar. "Suck you to death, you bastard." After she was done, Sun Fang took a deep breath and walked out of the kitchen. Looking at Death Mage who was playing the game with a serious expression, Yu Yang slowly walked over and stretched out the cigar in his hand. Without even looking at Sun Fang, Death Mage took the cigar and placed it on his mouth. Seeing that Death Mage did not have the intention to start a fire, Sun Fang let out a breath and calmed herself down. Picking up the lighter, Yu Yang personally lit the fire for Death Mage. The southern girl was actually reduced to lighting a fire for a skeleton. She really wanted to die. But he was about to die. Death Mage took a deep breath. Smoke had yet to come out from his mouth, but his body was already smoking. Sun Fang's gaze congealed. Looking at the drifting smoke, she seemed to have thought of something, and immediately covered her nose and ran towards the window. Fiercely opening the window, Sun Fang took a deep breath. She was so angry that she became muddle-headed. GGG? Imperial translation, how fragrant. Cough cough cough. Sun Fang leaned against the window and coughed violently. She even coughed up blood. Death Mage played around and smoked whatever he wanted to, but he was completely fine. On the other hand, Death Mage himself was poisoned. Before he could take his revenge, he would die in front of his enemy. Most importantly, he had poisoned himself to death. Heavens! What did I, Sun Fang, do wrong to make you treat me like this? Death Mage took a look at the woman who was leaning against the window and thought to himself, this woman is too stingy. Didn't I just use a few coins from you? Just because of this he wanted to commit suicide. Sun Fang turned around and glared at Death Mage. Even if I'm going to die, I'm going to turn into a ghost and kill him. Death Mage sighed powerlessly, then shot out a black fog from his bony finger into Sun Fang's body. Sun Fang laughed coldly. You don't need to do anything. This sect leader is going to die too. However, I won't let you off in this lifetime. At the moment of death, Sun Fang suddenly felt that her breathing was smooth. Her feet were no longer numb and her hands were no longer sore. She could climb several floors in one breath. What? Why must even death be exploited? Sun Fang threw herself on the sofa and cried loudly, looking so wronged and helpless. Biu, there was nothing more important than fishing in this world. Beside the waterfall, Lai Gu had yet to return. Xianxia's little face was blushing red as she threw the small stones, scaring the little fishes underwater to the point that they started swimming in all directions. This woman is so terrifying. Sneaking a glance at Yi Hua, she discovered that Yi Hua was also looking at her, and her heart started beating wildly. This scoundrel, everything that he said in the past were all lies, and right now he actually dares to make a move on me. Damn scoundrel. That's right. I forgot to ask him about that matter. No, I still have to ask him clearly. If it really doesn't work, I'll just run. With a blushing face, Xianxia pulled Yi Hua into the tent again. The few people outside the tent went into a daze. The lady boss's desire is really not satisfied. Seeing that Xianxia was so anxious, Yi Hua smiled lightly. What? It is not even night time yet, and you are already impatient? Impatient my ass, let me ask you something. Xianxia said solemnly. Come into my embrace first. Can you be a bit more serious? I like the feeling of hugging you. Xianxia went into a daze. Did this man become enlightened recently? He knows how to make me happy now. However, being able to hear what Yi Hua said, Xianxia still felt sweet in her heart. She shifted her body and leaned into Yi Hua's embrace. Meanwhile, Yi Hua lightly hugged the woman in his embrace and caressed her beautiful hair, feeling very comfortable. Didn't you say that you were going to take wedding photos? You choose a date. Yi Hua said faintly. Xianxia smiled, her smile was exceptionally beautiful, and said tenderly, then you better not regret it. Do I look like someone who will regret it? Bragging again. Yi Hua stretched out his hand and flicked Xianxia's forehead. Why did you hit me again? I like it. Xianxia rubbed onto her forehead and said earnestly, I have something to ask you. Speak. Are you being chased? Xianxia sat up and looked at Yi Hua nervously. Meanwhile, Yi Hua was also stupefied by Xianxia's question. I, the Supreme Overlord, am being chased? What a huge joke. However, looking at Xianxia's nervous expression, Yi Hua decided to tease this foolish woman. Suddenly Yi Hua's expression became downcast. Looking at Yi Hua's expression, Xianxia knew that she guessed correctly. Yi Hua, don't scare me. Yi Hua let out a heavy sigh. Xianxia, it is still not too late for you to leave now. Hearing what Yi Hua said, Xianxia's beautiful eyes immediately turned red, and she hugged onto Yi Hua's waist. I don't want to. GGG. I, the Supreme Overlord, am able to see through your heart with just a little bit of tricks. Properly give birth to the child. Yi Hua said gravely. Xianxia sobbed uncontrollably. Yi Hua, let's run. I will go and sell the company. That money is more than enough for us to use. Yi Hua was slightly startled. I know that the company is very important to Xianxia, and right now, Xianxia is actually willing to sell the company for me. Lightly caressing onto the foolish woman in his embrace, Yi Hua said faintly, where are we going then? Anywhere is fine. Chapter 145. Xianxia was anxious. Then what should we do? Let's call the police. No, it's completely useless. Looking at Xianxia's expression, Yi Hua finally couldn't help but laugh. Xianxia went into a daze for a moment, then said fiercely, are you playing with me? You are the one who is too stupid. It's already good enough that I don't chase after others. You. I was so worried about you just now and you still dare to tease me, Yi Hua. I will fight it out with you. Come at me. Immediately the tent began to shake violently. The people outside were all stupefied. This is too passionate, right? However, Lai Gu still hasn't returned. At this very moment, at a place 10 kilometers away from the waterfall, there was a place surrounded by green trees, birds were chirping and flowers were fragrant. It was a pretty good utopia, but the precondition was that there was no one around. Although it looked like there was no one around, if one were to carefully sense it, the surroundings were filled with people, and they were just using a special technique to conceal themselves. In the cave at the side, a few big shots were gathered together. Their expressions were stern and they were discussing something. That's right. They are the people from the north and they are here to snatch something. Among them there was an old-faced Tang Wushuang. What was worth noting was that beside Tang Wushuang, there was a handsome man who had an imposing appearance, and he faintly gave off the aura of a person in a high position. He was the northern hidden aristocratic family Yi Xiao. Everyone present was very respectful towards him, and they didn't dare to offend him. The other three people were from sects with strength in the north. Supreme Intent Pavilion Master, A Chi Feng Sumuru Lane Master, Shu Zhenhai Phoenix King Pavilion Master. Mankai. Although these powers weren't the full strength of the north, they were still a sharp sword that pierced the enemy's heart at the crucial moment. Yi family head, since you are here this time, I reckon that you will be able to get twice the result with half the effort. Supreme Intent Pavilion Master He Feng said with a smile. This person was rather skinny and he looked a bit wretched. Yi Xiao swept his gaze across everyone and said, I am here because of Brother Tang's invitation. A single sentence caused the three big shots to hold back. Hidden aristocratic families are indeed awesome, aren't they? They still want to keep the ancient godly item for themselves, but they are too embarrassed to show themselves. If the other hidden aristocratic families were to find out, they would incur the wrath of the public and be attacked by the public. Big Brother Yi, I am afraid. Tang Wushuang cupped his hands and said with a smile. To be able to invite Yi Xiao, it could be said that Tang Wushuang had put in a lot of effort, and the price he had to pay was to rely on Yi clan in the future. However, as long as he could obtain an ancient godly item, who could tell what would happen in the future? Yi Xiao patted on Tang Wushuang's shoulder. When the time comes, just leave the opponent's experts to me. As for the ancient godly item, you must definitely get your hands on it. We can't let the southerners take it. Don't worry, Big Brother Yi. I will do my best. The owner of Sumuru Lane, Shu Zhenhai, was a big fatty. His face was oily and shiny and he looked like a pig. This was the most appropriate description. To be on the safe side, I've also called for backup. Shu Zhenhai clapped his hands. Yi Xiao saw a black figure walk in from outside the cave, and an oppressive feeling assaulted him. He could not help but frown, and two words appeared in his mind. An expert. This person was wearing a black cloak. That's right. He was the man from the arcade. The Phoenix King Pavilion Master smiled. Everyone sure is cautious. Yi Xiao's expression quickly darkened. Let me introduce. Shu Zhenhai's chin trembled, and his pair of eyes were about to sink into his flesh. The cloaked man snorted. No need, I am called Emperor Tsang. Such arrogant words. Yi Xiao's eyes narrowed. I hate this kind of man who likes to act cool the most. To think that he would even dare to act cool in front of me, especially when his name has the word Emperor in it. Emperor Tsang's pitch-black eyes immediately looked towards Yi Xiao. Yi Xiao snorted. If you want to play, I will play with you. They looked at each other. Don't look down on this kind of looking at each other, there was a lot to pay attention to. Because when the two of them were releasing their aura, the one who was weaker would definitely move his gaze first. However, 1 minute later the two of them seemed to be evenly matched. If they were to continue competing, it might cause a commotion, and it wouldn't be good if they were discovered by others. The two of them seemed to have come to an agreement, and they retracted their gaze at the same time. Emperor Tsang didn't expect that these people would be able to invite such external help. The strength of the external help is not bad, but it will disrupt my plans. Brother Tang, since it's like this, I will be leaving first. Yi Xiao said faintly, then turned around and left. In actuality, coming here this time was a very big risk. If the other aristocratic families were to find out about this, the consequences would be unthinkable. Right now, I just happen to have an excuse to leave, just that I lack the strength of Tang family. Forget it, compared to Tang family's vote, Yi family itself is the most important. Big Brother Yi. Tang Wushuang didn't want Yi Xiao to leave just like that. With Yi Xiao around, the chances of me snatching the ancient godly item would be higher. If Yi Xiao was determined to leave, no one would be able to make him stay. On the other hand, Xu Zhenhai was smiling to the point that his eyes couldn't be seen. With Yi Xiao leaving, things will be much easier to deal with. Tang Wushuang's expression was extremely bad. I won't let them take advantage of me. After snorting coldly, Tang Wushuang left as well. Before the battle even started, 2 of the North's great generals had already left. This could only mean that they weren't united, or that it was because of Emperor Tsang's arrival. Everyone, let's talk about the plan. Emperor Tsang looked at the 3 people in front of him and said with a smile. On the surface, I was invited over by Xu Zhenhai, but in private, I have already reached an agreement with Yifeng and Man Kai, just that they didn't know about it. Especially this fatty, the other 2 are much smarter than you. Man Kai kept his smile and said gravely, this time, there is only us from the north, the others did not make a move. After all, almost all of the South's powers are here, and the South's aristocratic families might even be secretly protecting us, not to mention those mysterious existences from the South. Last time we let Xiaoyi take advantage of us. This time when we went to invite him over, he went into closed-door training. Xu Zhenhai snorted coldly. Yifeng shook his sleeves. He already has a xuanhuan sword. If he were to come and snatch the ancient godly item from us, then he would be the one who doesn't know what's good for him. Emperor Tsang didn't say anything and closed his eyes to listen. After a long while, Emperor Tsang slowly said, when the ancient godly item is unearthed, the South will definitely be the first to snatch the ancient godly item. Xu Zhenhai laughed loudly. What Emperor Tsang said is right, when the ancient godly item is unearthed, the South will definitely be the first to snatch the ancient godly item. Yifeng and Man Kai laughed but didn't say anything. You are still counting the money after being sold. Looking at the 3 idiots, Emperor Tsang revealed out a trace of an evil smile. Report. A disciple from Extreme Wool Pavilion could be seen running over quickly. Pavilion Master, we can't get in touch with a team that was arranged 10 miles away. Yifeng's gaze became serious. I will go and take a look. Wait. Emperor Tsang said. Yifeng looked at Emperor Tsang suspiciously. The war is imminent, don't create unnecessary problems. If we were to fall into the enemy's trap, it would be bad. Just send someone over to take a look. Yifeng heaved a sigh of relief, then immediately gave the order. Thinking about it, he felt a lingering fear. If they had gone over rashly just now and fallen into the enemy's trap, then it would be over. Chapter 146. Beside the waterfall. Lai Gu had not returned yet. Yi Hua and Xianxia, who was flushed red, walked out of the tent together. Xianxia covered her pretty face with her hands, and she almost didn't have the face to see anyone. Didn't I just leave you hanging for a few days? How can there be such a vengeful person who is so aggressive? Your figure is getting better and better. Yi Hua said with a smile, then went back to fishing. Towards this kind of teasing, what else could Xianxia do? I can only hope that the heavens will send down divine power to smack Yi Hua's butt and let him know how formidable I am. Looking at the smile on his honor's face, Wei Chang felt very happy as well. His honor is becoming more and more like a human. Congratulations on your honor regaining your wife's heart. Easy. Yi Hua picked up the fishing rod, indicating that he would be able to easily catch Xianxia. What do you mean by easy? Xianxia walked over and questioned Wei Chang. Wei Chang immediately turned his head around, expressing that he did not know anything. Yi Hua tossed out his fishing rod and snorted, I said that fishing is easy. Xianxia took a look at the bucket beside Yi Hua. It was really a piece of cake. I don't believe that no fish will take the bait. Not only was Lai Gu unable to catch any fishes, Yi Hua, who was his honor, was also the same. However, Yi Hua was still able to sit still. Looking at Wei Chang, there were countless small fishes and a few big fishes. Give me the fishing rod. Xianxia shouted out. The people at the back immediately sent fishing rods. He skillfully hooked up the bait and cast the fishing rod. What are you looking at? Haven't you seen me fishing before? Xianxia rolled her eyes at Yi Hua. Bibi? Let's compete then, what are we betting on? Xianxia was in a good mood and said tenderly. Speak. That's good. The loser has to buy breakfast for a week. Xianxia raised her chin and said confidently. Alright. This stupid woman still wants to win? Doesn't she know that if I, the Supreme Overlord, want to win is actually very simple? All I have to do is to slightly move my hands and feet. The corner of Wei Chang's mouth rose. His honor is even going to cheat in a bet with the madam, so he will definitely win. Now wait. He could cheat in his bet with Tang Bingyao and easily win the prize. His honor is truly brilliant. Every single action of his honor is able to benefit me greatly, and every single word of his honor contains all kinds of profound principles. His honor is becoming more and more powerful. After a long while. I'm not fishing anymore. You cheated. Xianxia snorted. A loss is a loss. Yihua said faintly. Xianxia said petulantly, next time when you cheat, can you not be so exaggerated? You have to understand balance. Equilibrium? That's right, look at the inside of your bucket. You have been fishing for the entire morning and there is still not a single fish in your bucket. On the other hand, after fishing with me for half an hour, my bucket was completely filled. This cheating is way too obvious. If you were to control the number of fish that we have together, in the end, you would be able to win with a small advantage. At that time, no one would know that you were cheating. You are so stupid. Xianxia stretched out her finger and poked Yihua's forehead. Logically speaking, Yihua would definitely fly into a rage. However, he didn't because Yihua had figured out a problem. This problem had even appeared in the 7 deadly sins in the past, and after Xianxia explained it to him, Yihua immediately understood the problem. Leveling was the work of a boorish man. A wise man could control a boorish man. Yihua stretched out his hand and pinched onto Xianxia's face. All right, I will buy it for you. Humph humph, this is more like it. Quickly remove your spell, I still want to fish. Xianxia laughed tenderly. I feel that Yihua's temper is much better right now. After a long while, Yihua said faintly, a certain someone's ability to act cool has not changed at all. You must have cheated again. Then what is the reason for me to cheat? Yihua lit up a cigarette and asked. Xianxia pouted her mouth. Isn't it because you want to see me make a fool of myself? I'm not that bored. Yihua's index finger slightly moved, and the shoal of fishes under the water began swimming freely again. Alright, Yihua am just that bored. Wei Chang, who was at the side, memorized every single action of his honor. The more he thought about it, the more astonished he became. This is too profound. I feel that I and Xiao Tang will be able to do that very soon. Boss, I am back. Lai Gu could be seen carrying Wuxia, who was unconscious, and walking out from the forest at the side. After placing Wuxia into his tent, Lai Gu ran over to fish happily. After sitting for a while, Lai Gu felt that the atmosphere wasn't right and asked puzzledly, what's wrong? How many hours have you been gone for? Wei Chang asked. Not that long, just a few hours. Lai Gu said indifferently. Seems like today can be considered to be rather short. Yihua turned his head around and looked towards Xianxia. Xianxia immediately knew what Yihua was thinking about, and she immediately punched towards Yihua. Bai Xiaozhen walked over to the tent and checked on Wuxia's injuries. Bai Xiaozhen and Tang Wei continued to take care of the food. Xiao Tang, you take care of this place first, I will be back very soon. Yihua said gravely. All right, Sister Yuran. After saying that, Yihua disappeared, because she felt that there were some small fries that came over to disturb the boss's rest. A few minutes later, Yihua came back and not even a strand of his hair floated out. Yihua and the others naturally felt that Yihua came back, and he said to Lai Gu and Wei Chang, both of you did well. Thank you for your praise, boss. Thank you for your praise, boss. Xianxia was confused. I don't understand what they are talking about. Is this a code word? The sky gradually darkened, and everyone sat on the chairs and began enjoying the delicacies. Meanwhile, Yihua stood up and raised his wine cup. Everyone didn't dare to be negligent and immediately stood up. Of course, this included the 4 maids as well. Among them, Wuxia was extremely shy. The redness on her face had yet to fade away. Yihua said faintly, it has been a long time since I came out. I am very happy this time, cheers. Boss, being happy is our happiness. Other than Xianxia, everyone shouted out in unison. This made Xianxia feel like she was an outsider. After sitting down, Yihua said to Xianxia, weren't you curious about the so-called cultivation world? Today I will let you take a look. Without waiting for Xianxia to reply, Yihua waved his hand, and a light blue halo appeared above the dining table. Just like a holographic image, many people appeared in the holographic image, and every single one of them had an excited expression on their face. Yihua said faintly, everyone, let's eat while watching. Xianxia stared at the holographic image without blinking, completely unable to care about eating. Yihua didn't stop her. It is time for Xianxia to come into contact with the cultivation world. However, I have to do it slowly. I'm afraid that she won't be able to accept it. However, other than Xianxia, Tang Wei was also attracted by the holographic image. Those 3 celebrities were still alright, they were eating while watching. As for Yihua, Wei Chang, and Lai Gu, they didn't really care about the holographic image. Perhaps, the 3 of them would only take a look at the holographic image when the little skeleton appears. At a place that was 20 kilometers away from where Yihua was, a huge mountain was basically flattened, and there were all kinds of excavators placed around the mountain. At the center of the mountain, there was a hole that had a diameter of 20 meters, and the hole was connected to the underground. Standing at the side of the hole were Wang Debao, Zuoxinran Jianyun Guang Tianlu Hai Daisi Che Zhishuan Yang Yi Guzheng and Cloud Sect's new sect master Sun Yi. She was Sun Fang's junior sister. What they wanted was only the ancient godly item, and they didn't have any thoughts about those treasures. It's out! It's out! It's out! The people inside the hole could be heard letting out excited cheers, and at this moment, everyone's heart was in their throats. What is the ancient godly item that appeared this time? Sword? Armor? And it's even an artifact. Chapter 147. Long and City's wealthy merchant Yusi hurriedly ran over and said, "Alliance Master Hai, what do you think?" Yusi, take the treasures and leave. Hai Daisi's gaze was fixed on the white jade coffin. As long as he could obtain this ancient godly item, the special ability world would no longer need to be afraid of the cultivation world. Hai Daisi could almost see the rise of the Esper world. Yusi and a few other rich merchants immediately left. There was going to be a fight soon, so it was better for ordinary people to leave as soon as possible. The ordinary people quickly retreated, but at this time, countless people appeared in the air and on the ground. They stood behind their leaders, and tens of thousands of people surrounded the white jade coffin. A great battle was about to break out. Wang Debao stood out and said with a smile, "How are we going to split this ancient godly item?" "Of course not," Xuanhuan of the Zuo family said calmly. The pavilion master of Traceless Pavilion, Gai Zheng, laughed out loud. "How about rock paper scissors? I'm quite knowledgeable about it." "Ah, childish. I know a new way to play fight the landlord. Why don't we have a showdown to prevent blood from flowing like a river?" Dry Zen Sect's Che Zhishuan shouted. Cloud Sect's new sect master Sun Yi said with a tender voice, "Everyone please calm down. I feel that all ancient godly items have their own consciousness, and they will definitely choose their own master." Jianyun of the Ji family adjusted his glasses and sneered, "What right does a woman who has slept with all the elders have to speak?" Sun Yi's gaze turned cold. "Watch your mouth." The Guang clan's clan head, Guang Tianlu, who had been silent all this while, said indifferently, "If you don't sleep with the elders, would you be able to ascend to the position so quickly? How dare you? Our sect master is not someone you can slander." Cloud Sect's disciples shouted loudly, all of them drawing their swords. Sun Yi smiled faintly and said, "There's no proof for your words. It seems like my Cloud Sect has something to say. In that case we can only fight with our true strength." Wang Debao spread out his hands, "Let's fight then. Fight until there is only one clan left, and the ancient godly item will be his." The few big shots nodded their heads. How could there be no bloodshed when snatching an ancient godly item? Just as the few parties were preparing to start fighting, a lump of black void appeared in the middle of the battlefield. Death Mage could be seen walking out with a scythe in his hand and a cigar in his mouth. There was also a woman hugging onto him. Everyone present was dumbfounded. Sun Fang, who was in Death Mage's embrace, was also stupefied. 1 minute ago. In the rented apartment. Death Mage had already charged his phone fully, just in case his phone ran out of battery while he was playing. He did not want to top up his balance for the time being. The cigar had also been prepared, it was time to set off. But before he left, he still had to ask Baidu how to make a woman fall madly in love with a skeleton. However, the search failed. Let's replace the skeleton with a man. As expected, a lot of answers appeared, and Death Mage felt that none of them were suitable for him. He had to have meat first. A hero saving a damsel in distress? She is too ugly, subtly showing off to win the heart of a beauty. This could be considered. GGG, Imperial Translation, Ugly woman, I'm bringing you out to show off. Sun Fang was so tired from crying that she fell asleep. She opened her red and swollen eyes and immediately got up to attack. Even Sun Fang, who possessed spiritual power, was not Death Mage's opponent, let alone Sun Fang, who did not possess any spiritual power. Reaching out, he summoned Dark Void and stepped inside. That's what happened a minute ago. The southern girl's eyes were red as she leaned against the skeleton, and her hands seemed to be beating the skeleton's chest. How could such a scene not cause one's imagination to run wild? The tens of thousands of people who were present immediately started whispering to each other. TSK, this Cloud Sect master sure is licentious, she really did it with a skeleton. Does the skeleton even have one? Look at that girl, she even started crying. The big one was done by the skeleton, and the small one was done by the elder. So this cloud sect is a den of lust. That's right, I originally thought that sect Master Sun was framed, but from the looks of it, her taste is indeed unique. What do you all know? This is called bone-hugging legs. Do you know who this black robe is? The black robe that is fighting against Xiao Yi. Otherwise, do you think that Sun Fang would serve him? F***K, there is such a thing. This woman is indeed licentious enough. She even pretended to be a saintess in the past. Tisk. Sun Fang's originally red face gradually became deathly pale. Although they were speaking very softly, their words still entered into her ears. Sun Yi could be seen walking a few steps forward and saying with a smile, "Senior sister, why did you suddenly appear here? It can't be that you have a backer now, so you want to come and snatch me, right?" The big shots who had been secretly in love with Sun Fang completely gave up. Just based on the scene just now, their goddess must have definitely been pleasured to the heavens by the skeleton. Filthy pervert. Qing Lei sect master said gravely, "Sun Fang, I have misjudged you. I didn't expect that you would abandon yourself and become a female slave of a skeleton. Sun Fang, why did you have to do this? In the past you said that you wouldn't look for a man in your entire life, but now you, sigh." Hai Dicey lamented bitterly, and tears of regret flowed out from his eyes. Dry Zen sect master Che Zixuan said faintly, "Sun Fang indeed didn't look for a man, what she looked for was a skeleton." When Che Zixuan said those words, everyone laughed. Sun Fang had a bewildered look on her face as she pushed Death Mage away and took a few steps forward woodenly. "You all have misunderstood, it isn't what you all think." Sun Fang roared loudly. "Why is everyone misunderstanding me? How can I possibly be together with a skeleton? I want to take revenge." Traceless Pavilion's Gai Zheng said faintly, "Sun Fang, you disappoint me too much. I didn't expect that you are this kind of woman. You truly threw away the face of our cultivation world. Sect Master Sun, quickly go back to your daddy skeleton's embrace." "Daddy skeleton's fingers are very long, but they are too thin. My fingers are just right for you. Do you want them or not?" Those disciples immediately started using their taunting skills. Sun Fang clenched her fists tightly, and upon seeing that, Death Mage immediately released the seal on Sun Fang. Boom. Sun Fang's body could be seen emitting a bright light that soared straight into the sky, lighting up everything within a radius of a mile. Everyone was stupefied. She actually broke through at this time. A purple long sword condensed in Sun Fang's hand, and light immediately shot out in all directions. "Why aren't you all willing to believe me?" "What?" Sun Fang roared towards the sky, then casually waved the purple longsword in her hand. A purple crescent-shaped sword chi pierced through the sky and slashed towards the crowd of people. The sword chi slashed out a deep ravine, and within the ravine severed limbs were all from those people who were mocking her just now. A red light flashed past Death Mage's eyes. "This woman is very savage. No wonder His Honor wanted her to fall madly in love with me, that way I would be able to make use of her. His Honor is truly formidable." Sun Yi's expression sunk as she shouted out loudly, "Senior Martial Sister has fallen into the demonic path, kill her." Sure enough, following Sun Yi's shout, all of Cloud Sect's disciples rushed towards the former sect master. Meanwhile, the other powers that were at the side also started making their move, and several tens of thousands of people started attacking a weak and small woman. Sun Fang slowly put down the long sword in her hand and closed her beautiful eyes. Death is the best release. After waiting for a long time, the pain that Sun Fang imagined didn't come. When Sun Fang opened her eyes, a black robe appeared in front of Sun Fang. Sun Fang was holding onto his scythe, and all of the people in the surroundings were sent flying away by the scythe. What? Why is it that in the end, it is still my enemy who came to save me? And my family members that I used to be in love with? Chapter 148. Everyone didn't think the black robe would leave so easily. They all thought he would help Sun Fang. Xuanhuan was very annoyed. Sun Fang killed all his people just now. Just as he was about to take revenge, the person disappeared. Don't you think so? Wang Dabao chuckled. All right, let's open the coffin first. Yes, let's open the coffin first. It won't be too late to snatch it then. Hai Dicey laughed. However, everyone held their breaths. Just what kind of ancient godly item was inside the coffin? Yun sect sent out 4 disciples to open the coffin. Those 4 disciples were extremely nervous. Coffin. There must be someone inside. And the ancient godly item was inside the coffin. Maybe it was the guardian of the ancient godly item. Now that the coffin was opened, What if the corpse came back to life? Hurry up. Sun Yi shouted coldly. Dilly-dallying. The 4 disciples didn't dare to waste any more time. They stood at the 4 corners of the coffin, took a deep breath and channeled their energy. Zzz. The white jade coffin emitted a heart-wrenching sound, and no one dared to breathe too loudly. When the coffin lid was opened, the 4 disciples were shocked. A 7 to 8-year-old little girl laid inside. Her hair was tied into 2 ponytails and she was wearing a beautiful princess dress. Though her eyes were closed, she looked very cute. Her baby fat face made people want to touch it. But no matter how attractive she was, it wasn't as important as the thing in the little girl's hands. Ancient godly item. Yun Sek's disciples' faces darkened. They were the first to snatch it. I dicey humped. He waved his hands and used wind magic. The 4 people from Yun Sect were blown into the sky and turned into 4 stars. Sect leader Sun good plan. Gu Zheng's eyes were filled with anger. Sun Yi scolded him for being an idiot and squeezed out a smile. It's inevitable that there will be a few traitors in our sect. On the side, Wang Dabao was discussing something with the other 3 patriarchs. It wasn't anything good. Che Zixuan lifted the coffin up with one hand. It stood upright and faced everyone. Seeing the person and the item inside the coffin, everyone gasped. It was a cute little loli. But no matter how cute she was, she couldn't be as cute as the item in her hands. 9 Demons Punishing Tower. Che Zixuan's gaze froze and mumbled. Everyone, including Wang Dabao, was shocked when they heard that. Is this the legendary 9 Demons Punishment Tower? Xuanhuan exclaimed as he stared at the tower in the little loli's hands. The pagoda in the little loli's hand wasn't very big. It was about the size of an adult's palm and had 9 levels. The pagoda was ink black, and if one looked closely, they would see that each level was emitting a black fog that surrounded it. Yang Yi looked at the 9 demons Xing pagoda and muttered, "It is rumored that countless ancient godly items were dropped during the Great War of Gods and Demons. However, the ancient godly items that have appeared since ancient times have always represented justice. This time it is actually a demonic creature. 9 Demons Punishing Tower. Unbelievable. Legend has it that once this pagoda appears, blood will flow like a river." Gu Zheng frowned, and his tone was filled with hesitation. He didn't know whether he should snatch it or not. Sun Yi snorted and said, "Who cares if it's a demon or a god, as long as it's an ancient godly item, it's fine. If you guys don't want it, I want it." As soon as she finished speaking, Sun Yi's delicate body leaped up and she took the initiative to snatch it. Hai Dicey laughed disdainfully, condensing a large fireball with one hand and throwing it out. Sun Yi pulled out her sword. Insignificant skill. The sword easily destroyed the large fireball. However, at this moment Yang Yi attacked from the side. Sun Yi hurriedly defended, but was still kicked away by Yang Yi. Luckily she didn't roll on the ground, or else she would have lost a lot of face. "Yang Yi, how dare you sneak attack me?" Sun Yi frowned and questioned in a low voice. Hai Dicey and Yang Yi slowly walked to the center and nodded at each other. Then they said, "This thing is inauspicious. Burying it underground is the best choice." Guang Tianlu shouted, "Alliance leader Hai, sect leader Yang, shouldn't we wait for it to be buried so that you can take it for yourselves?" Yang Yi shouted seriously, "Everyone! This demonic pagoda bewitches people's hearts. It is rumored that even the gods have been bewitched by it." "That's right. This 9 Demons Punishment Tower imprisons the souls of ancient demonic beasts. The higher it is, the more ferocious it is. The one imprisoned at the top is even a demon king. At that time, it won't be you controlling the pagoda, but the pagoda controlling you." Hai Dicey shouted angrily. However, this kind of advice didn't make them afraid. Instead, they wanted to obtain this pagoda. Wang Dabao raised his head and asked loudly, "How do the 2 of you know so much?" "How would an outsider like you know our clan's secrets?" Yang Yi said disdainfully. Xuanhuan cracked his neck. "I heard it from the grapevine. You just want to take it for yourself." As soon as he finished speaking, Xuanhuan suddenly summoned his armor and a long green blade appeared in his right hand. Instantly he was fully armed and emitted a terrifying amount of spiritual energy. Not only Xuanhuan, but Wang Dabao also summoned his equipment. Xianxia didn't fully arm himself. Instead he took out a book and muttered a few words. Instantly, a huge flaming beast appeared. Roar! The huge beast let out an angry roar that shook the heavens and earth. Guang Tianlu took out 3 cards and threw them out. The 3 cards glowed with a white light and turned into 3 dipper wolves. Each dipper wolf was stepping on green flames. It was extremely strange. It was rare for the heads of the 4 great clans of the south to make a move. This caused everyone in the cultivation world to gasp in surprise, as expected of the leaders of the clans. Even so, it seemed like both sides were still clamoring and didn't dare to make a move. If they did, blood would flow like a river. Just as everyone was hesitating, the 9 demons punishing pagoda and the coffin suddenly left their hands and floated in the air. Everyone's eyes were staring at the 9 demons punishing pagoda in the air, their eyeballs almost popping out of their sockets. Instantly, the 9 demons punishing pagoda charged towards Sun Yi. Sun Yi was overjoyed and caught it. "This ancient godly item belongs to me, Sun Yi." Wang Debao shouted, "Kill! Kill! Kill!" The scene instantly became chaotic. Fighting started instantly. Not far away, Sky Emperor watched everything with a confident smile on his face. "Kill! Kill to your heart's content. The 9 demons punishing pagoda is mine." In the midst of the battle, the disciples of the 2 sects chatted as they fought. The whole battle was probably still going on even after everyone else died. "Don't you think it's strange?" "What's strange?" "Pay attention to your expression and show some killing intent. Don't let them see through you. Look at the little lowly in the coffin. This ancient godly item has been buried for at least 1,000 years. So what? Look at that little lowly, she's even wearing a lace princess dress and a pair of dazzling diamond high heels. Were all people from 10,000 years ago so fashionable?" Hearing you say it like that, it is indeed strange. Beside the waterfall, Wei Chang and Lai Gu's expressions were a bit strange, while Yihua's expression was still as indifferent as before. The little lowly in the coffin is truly pitiful, dying at such a young age. Xianxia couldn't help but say, "Only now did I know that the television didn't lie. For the sake of a treasure, people were willing to kill each other." Chapter 149. Xianxia looked at the little lowly in the coffin and said, "That's right, she is so cute, it is such a pity that she died." Wei Chang and Lai Gu took a look at each other and revealed a helpless expression. "Stop looking, the dishes are getting cold," Yihua warned. "This woman is already mesmerized by the scene. Stop messing around, let me see the result. There are so many people fighting over that tower, Yihua, why don't you go and fight over it?" Xianxia asked curiously. Yihua lit up his cigarette and said faintly, "What is there to fight over for trash?" Xianxia rolled her eyes at Yihua. "Look at you, you're acting cool after smoking is acting up again, sigh." Yihua couldn't help but stretch out his hand and pinch that smooth little face. "Eat your food." Humph, although Xianxia started eating, her gaze was still on the scene. The others had already finished eating and were currently looking at the result. Yihua leaned on the chair and smoked while looking at the little lowly in the coffin. The scene was extremely tragic. Out of the tens of thousands of people, only 1,000 were left. Although the big shots didn't die, they were injured. Right now, the 9-demon punishment tower was like a hot potato, whoever took it would be beaten up. This caused the ancient godly item to be thrown onto the ground like a piece of scrap metal. Boom boom boom. Under the bombardment from the cultivation world, the fire beast fell onto the ground. Xianhuan coughed out a mouthful of blood, and the family members immediately went up to support him. "Everyone, I will be leaving first." Xianhuan held onto his chest. Summoning the fire beast consumed too much of his energy. "I didn't expect that the cultivation world's weaklings would be so strong. It will take at least a year for me to recover my strength." Wang Debao's expression sunk. "Xianhuan, you are leaving just like that?" "Wang Debao, farewell." Wang Debao almost coughed out a mouthful of blood. "So your ass, scum." The cultivation world is indeed a sect that has existed for thousands of years. Their foundation is endless. Families that have existed for tens of years are unable to withstand their bombardment. Wang Debao's gaze became serious. "I'm afraid that the ancient godly item is going to fall into the hands of the cultivation world." Emperor Tsang, who was watching the battle, was already getting restless. He just had to wait a little longer. Now that one of them had left, the various patriarchs were already unable to withstand the attacks from the cultivation world. Very soon, it would turn into an internal strife in the cultivation world. At that time, while they were fighting to the death, he would be able to sit back and reap the benefits. Wouldn't that be great? In a corner of the field, 2 disciples were still fighting. The people around them had all fallen, leaving only the 2 of them alive. This seemed a little fake. "You or me? Let's fall together. If we continue to pretend, we'll be exposed." "All right. Pour it out together." The 2 of them seemed to be talking as they flew backwards. However, one of them landed on a corpse. "Brother, be gentle. F***ck brother, you're pretending to be dead too. Stop talking. Play dead. However, not far away from them, the 9 demons punishing pagoda that no one wanted suddenly rose into the sky and flew into the distance. The people who were fighting were shocked and immediately followed him out. Emperor Tsong's heart sank. Seeing a large number of people flying over, could it be that he had been exposed? Unexpectedly, when a black shadow appeared, Grey Emperor was overjoyed. He caught it in his hand and felt a familiar smell. People from the north. Xuanhuan shouted, and a few poisons appeared in his hand. It was one thing for him to snatch it from the south, but the people from the north were here too. What was this? At this moment, the people who were fighting seemed to be united as they attacked Emperor Tsong's group. The 3 people behind Emperor Tsong were so scared that they peed their pants. They didn't have a good grasp of the plot at all. It was a complete collapse. They couldn't care less about the contract. They just wanted to run first. Emperor Tsong didn't care about this at all. His goal was to get the 9 demons punishing pagoda in his hands. Now that he had achieved it, what else did he need them for? Who are you? Sun Yi pointed her sword at Emperor Tsong and shouted. Emperor Tsong raised the 9 demons punishing pagoda and shouted, I am Emperor Tsong. Everyone was stunned. They had never heard of such a strange name. Emperor Tsong? For words, and it sounded so strange. Could he be Master Tsong's man? Emperor Tsong had a cold smile on his face. Come and worship me. Now that the 9 demons punishing pagoda is in my hands, who can defeat me? As long as I release the vengeful spirits in the 9 demons punishing pagoda, all of you will die. However, just as Emperor Tsong was about to show off his might, the southern expert in front of him flew away. Stupefied, Emperor Tsong was stunned. He raised his head and looked at his hand. The 9 demons punishing pagoda had disappeared. An unprecedented rage erupted in Emperor Tsong's heart. Boom. With Emperor Tsong at the center, a shockwave spread out in all directions. The shockwave immediately resonated with the heavens and earth. Meanwhile, Emperor Tsong transformed into a lump of black fog and chased after the shockwave. The 9 demons punishing pagoda belongs to me, Emperor Tsong. Don't even think of getting it. All of Emperor Tsong's plans were disrupted. Right now he could only snatch the pagoda forcefully. Right now, at the center of the battlefield, there was a river of blood on the ground. There were still a lot of people who were still alive lying on the ground and wailing in pain. There were also a lot of people who were pretending to be dead who were observing the situation. Within the white jade coffin, the little lowly who had her eyes closed suddenly opened her beautiful eyes. Her eyes were bright red, and if one were to look closely, one could see complicated black patterns within her eyes. However, when paired with her face, her eyes were truly adorable. The little lowly could be seen grinning as she lightly floated out of the coffin. Soon after, she landed on the ground, and a pair of pure white heels stepped onto the blood. La la, I am an expert in killing. The little lowly's sweet melody rang out in the hell-like venue. She ran and jumped about, and the blood on the ground splattered onto her white princess dress, gradually dyeing the dress into a bright red color. The white diamond high heels that were originally white were also dyed red. Boom. Suddenly, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, and a heavy rain started pouring down. At this moment, the scene could really be described as a river of blood. La, where are you guys? The little lowly jumped and jumped as she searched for them. The 2 who were pretending to be dead just now could no longer hold back the fear in their hearts, and their bodies started trembling. That little lowly that was within the coffin actually woke up. What was I supposed to say? There is definitely something wrong with that little lowly. Since when did the ancients wear princess dresses? Found you, a sweet voice rang out beside his ears. The man swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and his entire body was trembling as he slowly turned his head around. Although the little lowly in front of him was adorable, this kind of adorableness carried a deep sense of brutality. The corner of her mouth that was slightly raised caused one's heart to stiffen. You won't be able to escape. The little lowly's ponytail suddenly rose up. The man couldn't help but want to escape, but that was impossible. He could only watch as the ponytail drilled into his mouth, and he could even feel that his hair was growing crazily in his mouth from his head to his feet. No. She is sucking my blood essence. No. The man's miserable screams rang out in the spacious and empty venue, and the little lowly's ponytail gradually turned from black to red. Looking at the man in front of her that had already withered up, the little lowly retracted her ponytail. It wasn't easy for me to think of a way, but only this many people came. Hateful, what a waste of my brain cells. The little lowly puffed up her cheeks and stomped her feet. Her ponytails immediately fluttered about, and no matter if it was dead or alive, she would stab it into the man's mouth and absorb it. Those who were dead already had no feeling and they were considered lucky. However, those who were pretending to be dead felt as if their bones were being peeled off, and they were wailing unceasingly. You're tuning in to the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.